Has your trusty phone ever let you down? More times than you can count. It always seems to run out of juice at the worst possible moment. You forget to top it off, or you end up in an area with no service. And let's not forget how useless it can be in an emergency, like during a tornado when there's no signal. But fear not, there's a cool project called Meshtastic that uses a wireless protocol to keep you connected with your friends. It's like magic, using a radio band called LoRa for encrypted messages. It works in literally any external conditions. Plus, each device can act as a repeater to extend the range of your messages. Perfect for disaster recovery or just keeping tabs on your kids. For less than $25, you can get a starter kit to join the Meshtastic fun. Add a GPS module and a battery and you've got your own private channel. No more stressing when your kids are out and about. You can instantly see where they are. And if you're feeling daring, you can even send low bitrate audio through the airwaves. Now, I'll bet there's a bunch of things your car just can't do. Can it lean into corners? I don't think so. What about adjusting its own width to park easier? I know your answer is no, but let me show you something then. This cutie is called Trigo EV, and even though it looks like a futuristic stroller, it's actually a fully functional quadricycle you can totally drive. It was initially created for delivery and car-sharing purposes, but it turned out cooler and way more comfy than expected. If you ever find yourself driving this electric, let's call it a car, shall we? You won't need anything else but a tiny patch of land to park it. It has a maximum speed of 56 miles per hour. Not bad for such a tiny car. In cruise driving mode, it measures 58 inches wide, but a mechanism allows the front wheels to retract toward the chassis, reducing the width to 34 inches. The electric four-wheeler weighs slightly over 1,000 pounds, with a total permissible mass of around 1,600 pounds. Right, it all looks futuristic and fun, but I feel safer in good old SUVs. Ever wished you had an extra arm to help you out when your hands are full? Scientists have figured out how to control a robotic third arm using just your diaphragm muscle. It's as easy as pie, if pie is easy. This awesome discovery was made in Switzerland as part of the super cool Third Arm project. They had volunteers wearing exoskeleton arms and a sensor belt to track their diaphragm movements, all while navigating a virtual world in VR. After over 150 sessions with 61 volunteers, most people found it a breeze to control 3 arms at once. They could even multitask, chatting and looking around while using the third arm. Now recently, a new, fully autonomous delivery service with fast food joints was launched. This means no people involved from pickup to drop-off. It's called Flytrex, and it's been delivering using drones since 2017, teaming up with big names in retail and food to bring you quick and cheap deliveries. They're currently flying high in North Carolina and Texas, with plans to expand nationwide. Their goal is to make deliveries faster and cheaper using their trusty drones. Your order could be at your door in as little as 5 minutes after it's ready. Now, that's speedy. Flytrex got a huge increase in customers and even FAA approval for long-range drone deliveries in 2023. Partnering with big brands like Unilever and Papa John's, they're definitely on a roll. More a pizza roll. The Monocab Owl project is all about making a super cool monorail vehicle for getting around in rural areas sustainably. The Monocab is a clever little autonomous monorail vehicle that can balance itself on a regular rail without any extra support. Its slim design allows it to zip along single-track lines in both directions, perfect for some unique rail mobility ideas. It's like a fun service-on-demand option that's way more exciting than your usual transportation choices, especially for reviving old railway lines in rural areas. Everyone on the Monocab Owl team is stoked about shaking things up in rural mobility. Right now, there's a lack of good, eco-friendly and budget-friendly options for getting around in less populated areas. Reactivating old railway lines is a great start, but we need some fresh ideas to really make it work. That's where these small, self-driving rail vehicles come in. They bring together the best of rail travel with on-demand booking and a cool digital navigation system. Look here! Can you identify what this weird-looking object is? It's a mobile solar container with foldable solar panels for green energy on the go. Just pop out the panels, unfold them, and you're good to power up equipment and properties with green energy wherever you are. The solar container can extend up to almost 400 feet in length when fully unfolded and has 240 solar panels. It's perfect for both on- and off-grid uses, like rescue missions and outdoor events. And it only takes about 5 hours to set up. Easy peasy. There's even an automatic conveyor system for easy folding and unfolding of the panels. Just push a button and start harnessing solar power. Solar Kant, the Austrian company that invented it, estimates this mobile solar container can power around 32 households. Virtual meetings are all the rage nowadays. Remote chats are cool, but let's be real, they're no match for face-to-face meetings. We can see each other, hear each other, but it's still pretty flat and 2D. Or, shall I say it was flat? The thing is, Holobox from HoloConnects is bringing holograms to life. This super cool device lets you project a life-size hologram of yourself or anyone else inside a funky box. Just plug it in, connect it to the internet, and voila! You've got a hologram ready to go. You can even connect multiple boxes to showcase big stuff like cars or anything else. Now, holograms are a massive game changer for remote communication. Imagine chatting with someone and seeing them in 3D like they're right there with you. Plus, it adds a personal touch to presentations, training sessions, ads, you name it. What do you think? Does this look cool or creepy? Check out the latest creation from a rockstar team of engineers at NASA Ames Research Center and KBR, a robot system that can autonomously build structures using lattice blocks. Their paper in Science Robotics explains how these robots and blocks work together to create amazing things. Designed for future lunar missions, these robots can lay down foundations for shelters before astronauts arrive. 3 robots work together to carry and connect blocks with twisty edges, similar to assembling IKEA furniture. They have already built impressive structures, like a shelter made of 256 blocks in just over 4 days. Imagine what they could do on the moon. Experience the interactive pearl sculpture by Breakfast. No food implied, just the name of the company. It's placed on a huge cruise ship called the Icon of the Seas. The stunning creation imitates the ocean's vibes, with rolling waves and shooting stars, each tile placed in a neat Fibonacci sequence. Using real-time data from the Caribbean, this sculpture changes constantly to match the current weather and tides, bringing the ocean to life before your eyes. Yeah, this invention won't change your life, but it's meant to nurture your soul. Have you heard about the Seattle-based startup Jetpack? They're developing innovative vertical takeoff and landing vehicles with bladeless propulsion systems, promising a future of quiet, safe, and fast urban flight. By 2050, 70% of the population will be living in cities, leading to crowded streets. But Jetpack's fluidic propulsion system offers a solution, using air pressure technology for silent operation. Jetpack is also working on a high-speed VTOL for the U.S. Air Force, with plans for passenger-carrying prototypes by 2026. Well, that's exciting.
Tsunamis, earthquakes, avalanches. There are so many dangers haunting us in this world. Luckily, the greatest minds of our time have invented more than enough devices to save our lives, even in the most unpredictable situations. Some of them look like something out of a sci-fi movie, like a device allowing you to imitate Spider-Man or a drone that can turn into a boat. Let's have a look at these engineering wonders. A wall of water is approaching rapidly. It's a tsunami. You rush to the roof towards your survival capsule. It's a bright orange, high-strength floating metal ball, watertight, buoyant, and made of aircraft-grade aluminum. It can withstand sharp object penetration and heat exposure that can protect up to 16 people. With 5 days' worth of supplies, it can also be used in the event of a typhoon or hurricane. If an earthquake scares you even more than a tsunami, there's a Chinese inventor, Wang, that has got you covered. His idea is a special bed with tremor sensors. When activated, it swallows the sleeper inside a metal frame with a protective lid, basically transforming into an earthquake-resistant box. The bed also has crucial items you need to survive, like medical kits, flashlights, water, and food supplies enough to last for several days. You aren't likely to get out of that earthquake bed on your own, but thanks to this next invention, you can get out of the car in case of an emergency. At first glance, this wrist strap looks unassuming, but the bead is made of tungsten carbide, known for being extra tough and super durable. If you get blocked in a car, you can take off your bracelet and use it as a slingshot to easily shatter the glass. Its price also starts from a mere $8. Unfortunately, this wonder wristband can't help you if you're being pulled away from the shore by a rip current. But the Life Drone can. It's an amphibious rescue device that can travel both in the air and on water. Its body opens up and orients the propellers in an X formation to fly. Once the drone spots you, its base inflates into a life raft so that you can climb onto it. Then the drone closes and forms an I formation, and its propellers start working underwater, pushing the raft towards safety. If you're stuck on a high floor during a fire or any other emergency, a Sky-Saver backpack can save your life. True to its name, it's a backpack with a built-in controlled descent device for evacuating high-rise buildings during emergencies. Thanks to it, a controlled descent from up to 260 feet is possible. All you need to do is buckle up, clip the cable to the anchor, and descend slowly. If you ever find yourself in shark-infested waters, a Shark Bands bracelet might save your life. This accessory uses magnets to create an electromagnetic field, disrupting electroreception of sharks. It's supposed to deter them from coming close to the wearer. Plus, Shark Bands doesn't harm sharks or any other ocean inhabitants. If, while driving a car, you get into an accident, an airbag will protect you. Unfortunately, motorcyclists don't have the same protection. Or do they? Helite Turtle 2 Air Vest is a wearable airbag for bikers that inflates after detachment from a bike and provides a great protection against impacts. It can be reused and inflates ultra fast, faster than you can blink. It also protects the most vital parts of the body. If you're a fan of winter sports like mountain skiing and snowboarding, you might want to invest into an Avalanche airbag. It can significantly increase the chances of surviving in an avalanche. It's basically a large balloon that inflates within 3 seconds once you pull a cord or handle. When inflated, the airbag makes it less likely for you to be completely covered with snow and keeps you as high up in the snowpack as possible. Another awesome invention is indestructible gloves. Schmidt's Mitts safety gloves are made from Kevlar and other resistant materials and offer extreme protection against heat, cuts, and impacts. Dubbed the world's toughest gloves, they cost around $50 a pair and are super useful for people working in the fields that require superior hand protection, like firefighters or those working on oil and gas rigs. In the near future, doctors might have an amazing invention to help them do their job too. I'm talking about a magnetic slime robot. It's made of slime material that can navigate tight spaces inside the human body and retrieve swallowed objects. The soft robot is controlled by magnets and can reach a speed of more than 1 inch per second. Unfortunately, at the moment, the robot is toxic to ingest for humans. But scientists are working on this problem. And this is an amazing invention that can take care of house fires. Look, it's a fire-extinguishing ball, a self-activating device that puts out fires by detonating a special chemical powder after coming into contact with flames. It can be installed in various vulnerable points in different parts of your home, in the kitchen, bedroom, laundry room, and so on. But let's get back to those scarily fast and powerful avalanches. There's another thing that can save your life if you get caught in a snowy wave. It's an air supply system that allows those stuck under snow to breathe freely. This device doesn't require a mouthpiece. Instead, it replaces CO2 in front of the trapped person's face with oxygen, extending the potential survival window to over 90 minutes. Some of the most basic rules for survival in the city go like this: stay alert, and stick to busier neighborhoods if you can. And still, sometimes alarming situations are unavoidable. A siren ring can help you stay safe. This quite stylish and sophisticated ring conceals a miniature alarm system. When activated, it emits a shockingly loud sound. This sound exceeds 110 decibels, which is as loud as a working jackhammer, and can be activated within 2 seconds. If you're lost in a forest and get extremely thirsty, you might be ready to quench your thirst even from a dirty river. In this case, Life Straw can save your life. This water purification system requires no batteries or electric power. It removes almost all waterborne bacteria, allowing you to drink directly from streams, rivers, or lakes. But keep in mind that Life Straw doesn't remove chemicals, salt water, heavy metals, or viruses. Carrying a power bank at all times might be slightly inconvenient. Luckily, a wristband power bank has already been invented. It allows you to charge your phone on the go. It looks like a bracelet. You can wrap it around your wrist and wear it with almost any outfit. The device has a mini USB or Apple Lightning plug on the end slotting into the bracelet. I wouldn't say that this next invention could save your life, but it's undoubtedly very convenient. Let me introduce a credit card light bulb. This is a tiny light that fits into your wallet. At first glance, it's an unusual card that looks like a flat incandescent lamp, but it lights up once you push it vertically. And the rest of the card serves as a stand. This cool invention weighs a mere 0.8 ounces and is powered by one tiny battery. Let's say you got stuck in the woods for the night. I've got great news for you. You can turn fire into electricity using wood. All thanks to BioLite Camp Stove. It's light and easy to transport, but it can still cook a meal while charging your gadgets. Thanks to patented thermoelectric technology, the device generates electricity and creates a smokeless campfire that can cook food and boil water in minutes. Another device that looks like a backpack but is actually so much more. What you're looking at is an off-grid solar backpack, perfect for travelers and photographers. It can power your gadgets as long as there's daylight. Just charge its battery with sunlight and use the USB port to keep your devices charged. As for the fabric of the backpack, it's made out of recycled PET, basically soda. Water, earth, air. These are the 3 elements that can unleash disasters. Thankfully, the masters of all elements, aka scientists and engineers, created these 7 genius inventions that might one day help save your life. Your home insurance company will appreciate you investing in this one. Floodworks vinyl tubes are like big, long pillows made of strong plastic that are filled with water. Each tube is 4 feet long and can be used to block water from getting through doors or into garages, as well as divert it. They're good for stopping water that's up to 6 inches high. You can bend these tubes into different shapes and they will hold their new form. They're designed with a cap on one end to fill them up with water. The other end has a special opening that lets you connect tubes together with a clip to allow you to create a longer barrier if needed. There's a part on the tubes called a break, which stops them from rolling away. To keep out taller amounts of water, you can put one layer of tubes on top of another, making a triangle shape like a pyramid. This can keep out water up to 12 inches high. However, it's advised not to stack them any higher than that. If you've got deeper water, you might need a different water-bending move. I mean, flood solution. If only Titanic had this invention on board. In the event of a shipwreck, we know by now that old-school lifeboats are too slow to launch and there aren't enough for everyone. Life buoys, on the other hand, are too few and can only save one person each. And life jackets are often not within easy reach when you really need them. This is where instant relief comes in handy. So cleverly called the Anti-Tanic, it is a lifeboat that allows multiple people to stay safe and together in the event of a shipwreck. It has a crisscross, waffle-like pattern that acts like many life rafts, allowing a large number of people to stay afloat. In case of an emergency, once the ship's sensors detect damage, the alarm sounds and the device gets to work right away without anyone having to do anything. Fueled by high-pressure carbon dioxide, it fills up with gas in just 2 minutes. The life mat can be 50 square meters, so there's room to save plenty of people. And no, people don't need to literally jump ship to get on it. The device inflates and forms a ladder against the ship's side, so everyone can climb down this ladder and onto the safety of the big air mat. What's even more clever is that the mat has different sections. People who need extra help, like the elderly, children, or those with disabilities, can stay out of the water and rest. If earthbending is not one of your skills, better check this invention out. Debris flows and shallow landslides are like super fast rivers of mud that can carry big rocks, tree branches, or even large boulders. They happen when too much rain or melted snow makes the ground on hillsides too wet and slippery, especially if there aren't any plants or trees to hold the soil together. This can also happen when the ground gets burned in a wildfire and there's nothing left to protect it. Debris flows usually follow the shape of the land, moving through natural paths like gullies or ditches. If nothing stops them, they can damage roads, bridges, and houses, or even block rivers. This is where the debris flow barriers come in handy. They act like a big net that catches these mud rivers before any disastrous consequences. Placed right in the natural paths of the debris flow, the barrier has special elements that soak up the energy from the debris flow, slowing it down and stopping all the stuff from moving further. What's also great about them is that they don't damage the environment. One can take them down without leaving a mess and put them back up again if there's a risk of debris flows in the future. This little box, created by NASA engineers, is not looking for extraterrestrial creatures or other planets. It's a life-saving radar called Finder that's designed to find people trapped under the rubble of collapsed buildings right here on Earth. Using a technology that is similar to what might be used for space exploration, Finder can detect the tiny, rhythmic movements of a human heartbeat and breathing amidst chaos and destruction. The way it works is like this. It sends out a safe, low-energy microwave signal into the debris, which is much weaker than what your mobile phone emits. As the signal then bounces back from the rubble, Finder listens for patterns that show someone is there, living and breathing, even when they can't call out or may be unconscious. The device is so sensitive that it can tell the difference between a person and an animal. Engineers also use a unique method to pick out these signals of life from other random movements, like leaves shaking or other non-life patterns. According to tests, it can search a small building in about 10 minutes and a much larger area in about a half an hour. On the other hand, the next invention is designed to help save lives, not after, but during the event of an earthquake. Earthquake-proof table is a sturdy school desk that doubles as a life-saving shelter during earthquakes. While kids are often taught to duck and cover under their desks when the ground shakes, regular tables can become traps if they buckle or collapse. But not this one. It's built to stand strong during quakes and keep the kids safe underneath it. What makes it special is that it's been thought through for different ways buildings can fall apart during a quake. This way, it ensures kids can have a safe spot no matter what and can be reached by rescue teams afterward. It has also been put to impact tests with various types of weights and debris to confirm it can take a beating without going in. Besides its strength, the table is light enough for 2 children to lift and move, as well as spacious enough to accommodate a pair of students seeking refuge. This invention basically allows you to bend water and air at the same time. Imagine you're out enjoying the waves or paddling on a lake, and you suddenly need a bit of help to stay afloat. This is where Kingi, which is the world's smallest wrist flotation device, comes in. Worn around your wrist, it's sleek and barely noticeable until you need it. In the event of distress in the water, you can activate it by pulling a lever, which triggers the inflation of a balloon. This balloon aids in buoyancy, easing you to the water's surface. The device is also equipped with a whistle to draw the attention of rescuers in critical situations. Kingi is not a single use. Once you're back on dry land, you can deflate the balloon, fold it back inside, Pop in a new CO2 cartridge and it's ready for your next water adventure. The last invention on the list is like a guardian angel for adventurers in snowy mountains. When an avalanche hits, it can be a race against time. In such an event, SafeBack SBX helps you continue breathing if you get trapped under snow masses, all without the need for a mouthpiece. This could be a game changer because, usually, if someone is trapped by an avalanche, they might only have about 15 minutes before running out of air becomes a real problem. But with the SafeBack SBX, you could have up to 90 minutes of breathing help. That's a lot of extra time for rescuers to get you. It's been through a ton of tests to make sure it works in all kinds of snowy situations. It's also designed to fit into different brands of Avalanche backpacks. Plus, it's light enough to not add extra weight to your backpack and tough enough to handle the rough and tumble of an avalanche and keep working.
Traditional LEDs have been around for years, emitting colors like red or green. However, creating blue LEDs was a tough nut to crack due to the complexity of the process. In 2014, 3 Japanese researchers snagged the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work in making blue LEDs a reality. They developed a new semiconductor material called gallium nitride, which paved the way for efficient blue light emission. This breakthrough not only revolutionized the lighting industry, but also contributed to sustainable energy solutions. By combining red, green, and blue LEDs, you get white light. Alternatively, you can excite a chemical layer in a bulb with blue light to emit white light. LED lighting is more energy efficient than other types, making it a momentous change for the 1.5 billion people without access to electricity grids. If all lights were LED, global electricity usage for lighting could drop from 20 to 4%. Some LED systems are designed to adjust the light color throughout the day to align with the body's natural rhythm, offering a more comfortable lighting experience. Scientists were aware of the concept of materials made up of single atomic layers, but no one had managed to isolate one until recently. For years, researchers had been attempting to create a single layer using advanced and costly methods. However, the breakthrough came when a group of scientists used a simple and inexpensive tool, regular sticky tape, to isolate a single sheet of graphene. In 2004, a team of scientists announced the discovery of graphene, a thin layer of carbon just 1 atom thick. This discovery surprised the scientific community, as it had been believed that materials like graphene would be too unstable to exist. Graphene quickly became the talk of the town, with new findings on its properties adding to the excitement. In recognition of their work, the scientists received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2010. The idea that strictly two-dimensional arrangements of atoms would be unstable was long held, but recent research has shown otherwise. Graphite, which we commonly find in pencils, is made up of layers of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal pattern. These layers are what we refer to as graphene. Interestingly, the discovery of structures like buckyballs and nanotubes hinted that carbon could indeed form stable 2D sheets. One of the most fascinating qualities of graphene is its exceptional electrical conductivity, allowing it to carry significant currents at room temperature. Its unique properties have opened a world of possibilities in electronics and material science. Researchers are also exploring graphene's potential in fields like solar energy and battery technology. Now, the idea of touchscreens on devices has been around for a while, even showing up in science fiction movies and books. However, it took a lot of time to actually develop the technology to accurately sense and respond to finger touches on screens. Many people think Steve Jobs dreamed up the touch interface, but that's not quite true. He just introduced the technology in a way that really caught people's attention. Apple engineers have put in a lot of effort to improve the technology, adding features like scrolling without the need for physical buttons. The first touchscreen device is believed to be the work of American professor Samuel Hurst in the early 1970s. He was looking for a way to automate reading information from recorder tapes, which led to the creation of the world's first touchscreen. Over the years, touchscreen technology continued to evolve, eventually leading to the development of touchscreen smartphones and tablets. In 2002, companies like HTC and Xenarc Technologies started producing devices with touchscreens, setting the stage for the popular devices we use today. These devices have found countless applications in various industries and have improved how we interact with technology. So while Steve Jobs may not have invented the touchscreens, his contribution to making them mainstream cannot be denied. Now, for years, the concept of flying with a personal jet engine attached to your back has been a futuristic dream. However, the reality is that this dream has yet to become a mainstream reality. Despite promises of a practical jetpack hitting the market soon, there are several reasons why this technology has not taken off. First, the human body is not naturally built for flight. Without genetic modifications to create lift, individuals cannot soar like birds. This means that all the lift must come from the thrust generated by the jetpack. Next, thrust requires a significant amount of fuel, which can be expensive. Carrying more fuel for longer flights adds weight, requiring even more thrust and burning more fuel in a vicious cycle. Additionally, most jetpacks use rocket propulsion, which requires carrying both fuel and oxidizer. Jet and rocket packs are also difficult to control and can be unstable in flight. The short flight time limits the ability to reach a safe altitude for emergency situations, such as engine failure. Plus, the inefficiency of flying one person with a jetpack makes it impractical for most uses. While they may look cool, the practicality and cost-effectiveness of jetpacks have yet to be realized. The idea of using light in a precise and powerful way sounded like something straight out of a sci-fi movie until lasers were invented in the 1960s. Since then, lasers have totally changed the game in industries like medicine, fiber optics for communication, and manufacturing, where they're used with incredible precision for things like cutting and welding. Even though lasers can now come in all sorts of colors, making a white laser was a whole different story. White light is made up of a bunch of different wavelengths, unlike a single wavelength that traditional lasers produce. But instead of seeing this as a roadblock, many scientists view it as an exciting challenge. One idea for making a white laser is to combine several lasers to create a beam that looks white to us. But getting this to work without losing coherence is no easy task. Still, some researchers have succeeded in making a white laser using just one crystal, proving that there are new and creative ways to push the boundaries of optics. Back in 1903, Henry Ford's lawyer was advised against investing in Ford's automobile company. A mysterious person told him there would always be a horse and cars were just a passing fad. Well, as of 2021, almost 300 million vehicles were registered in the US alone. Take that, Mr. Anonymous Advisor. Jokes aside, at the beginning of the 20th century, people indeed didn't really welcome the whole concept of cars. Americans weren't really feeling the whole cars in the city thing. But as highways, suburbs, and anti-walking laws started popping up, people started to come around to the car-centric lifestyle. This shift meant less focus on walkable communities, which is kind of sad because it affects our ability just to stroll around our neighborhoods. Now, there's a common misconception that the price of lab-grown diamonds will drastically decrease in the future. This misconception is often promoted by the mined diamond industry, which claims that lab diamond prices will eventually plummet to the level of lower-quality diamond simulants like cubic zirconia. The reality is that high-quality lab diamonds are quite rare and difficult to produce. Growing brown or industrial-grade lab diamonds is easier and more cost-effective, while growing colorless, high-quality lab diamonds is a complex and expensive process. Similar to mined diamonds, there are two distinct categories of lab diamonds: high quality and low quality. Makes sense to me. Most lab diamonds on the market fall into the low quality category, while high-end retailers offer access to superior quality lab diamonds that are much harder to grow. The process of growing high-quality lab diamonds is a challenging one, due to the speed limit on how fast a diamond crystal can be grown. Trying to speed up the growth process can result in diamonds with fractures, low clarity, and undesirable undertones. Shortcuts, such as adding boron during growth, can lead to low-quality lab diamonds with a blue tinge or brown color that needs to be irradiated to remove. Cutting and polishing lab-grown diamonds is also a costly and labor-intensive process, requiring the use of multi-million-dollar laser tools and highly skilled technicians.
Have you ever tried riding your bike over nails? I guess it wasn't your intention, but if it happened at least once, you don't want to live through that experience again. Now imagine you'd have to ride your bike on Mars. Its surface is covered with rocks, canyons, volcanoes, dry lake beds, craters, and red dust. That combo makes those nails look totally harmless. No wheels we use down on Earth will do the trick, so NASA has been working on developing the perfect ones for use on the Moon or Mars since the 1960s. They tried smooth rubber tires with inner tubes full of nitrogen, large flexible wire mesh wheels, and airless compliant tires made of several hundred coiled steel wires, the spring tire, but nothing was good enough for the challenging cosmic terrains. The wheels of Mars Curiosity rover only lasted a bit over a year before they got seriously damaged. The rover's tires faced two big problems. First, they had to be strong enough to carry the enormous weight of the vehicle. Engineers tried to make it the most efficient vehicle for exploration, different from previous models that worked on the Moon and on Mars before it. That's how it ended up being so heavy. A big, heavy car needs durable tires, you know. And of course, the surface of Mars is no walk in the park. The engineers tried to make tires out of aluminum, which is a lightweight and strong material, but the wheels got shredded soon. The damage didn't prevent Curiosity from doing its job, but it did affect how efficient it was. And that's where the new, reinvented wheel rolled in. NASA decided to replace aluminum with a material called shape memory alloy. It's made of a unique type of metal called nitinol, a blend of nickel and titanium. Unlike other materials that bend out of shape under pressure or heat, this cool substance reverts back to its original shape on its own in the same circumstances. Nitinol is the hero up on Mars, but it's also useful down on Earth. Just imagine your tires never getting punctured again. Sounds good to me. One company decided to use this tech on their bikes. The tires are tube-shaped and squash down when you roll over a bump. They will develop perfect shape memory over time. They're supposed to work best on gravel, trail, and mountain bikes. The metal surface is covered with a rubbery outer layer. When it wears off eventually, the company plans to retread the tires to make them last for years. The previous airless tire models were made of patented foam that was supposed to last for up to 5,000 miles. They didn't take off because they made the bike too heavy. The new model is supposed to solve that problem. Nitinol also works great in the field of heart surgery. Tubes made of it can expand to the desired width under certain temperatures in the human body. The tire isn't the only object that works better with shape memory. If you can't imagine your sleep without that comfy memory foam mattress, you can send a thank you note to NASA for it. Its history goes back to 1966, when they decided to customize seats for astronauts to somehow ease the effects of G-force on takeoff and landing. Creating a custom seat for every flight seemed way too impractical, so memory foam saved the day. It easily adjusted to astronauts' body shape and went back into a rest state when not in use. In the 1980s, it went from space down to the earthly public. Now it's in mattresses, pillows, amusement park rides, horseback saddles, and football helmet liners. The third-generation memory foam has gel particles and viscofoam inside. That's the secret to its superpower of reducing trapped body heat, springing back up in no time, and making the mattress feel soft as a cloud. The name says it all, but in case you ever had your doubts, space blankets were indeed invented by NASA with space in mind. Back in the 1960s, they were preparing for the space era and looking for a thin, reflective metallic material that would protect their spaceships from solar radiation. And they managed to design just the perfect material MPET, strong enough to be used as insulation to protect expensive space electronics from temperature swings. Ever since, it has been an important part of nearly every mission to and beyond the orbit of our planet. It's also used in spacesuits to protect astronauts from radiation and the sun's heat once they venture into open space. Down on Earth, space blankets are the best friends of marathon runners. Since body temperature drops after they stop running, they need something to help bring it back to normal. And the magical space blanket material can also protect your phone from extreme heat and cold when used as an insulation layer in a phone case. In the early 1960s, headsets for airline pilots used to be really bulky. They often had to use handheld mics to communicate. NASA needed a more reliable and lightweight technology for their missions to make sure the communication would go without any problems. In 1961, the Liberty Bell 7 capsule splashed down, and astronaut Gus Grissom nearly sank without radio transmission or contact with his recovery team. NASA reached out to a manufacturing company to design a headset that could be planted into an astronaut's helmet. Just 11 days later, the team came up with a microphone headset unit that could be used by astronauts to communicate with one another and with Earth. It even had a noise-canceling feature. The headset was later improved and used for Mercury and Apollo missions. The world was able to hear Neil Armstrong's most famous phrase as he landed on the moon thanks to that wireless headset. Freeze-drying tech for food was not created but greatly improved by NASA to pack more snacks on long Apollo missions. During the first human missions, astronauts had to eat bite-sized cubes, freeze-dried powders, and squeeze semi-liquids out of aluminum tubes. Doesn't sound like a festive meal, right? The astronauts weren't happy about this diet, so NASA had to think of a better solution for the Gemini missions. They funded research that ended in developing special gravies that could go into edible shape in hot water in just 5 minutes. The idea of freeze-drying is to cook food, then freeze it under low pressure, and then slowly heat it in a vacuum chamber to remove ice crystals. Thanks to this tech, food maintains 98% of its nutritional value, with only 20% of its original weight. NASA kept improving the tech in the following decades. Now, freeze-dried food is a great help for backpackers, disaster relief programs, and anyone who needs to pack light and still get proper nutrition. The infrared thermometer that lets us check temperature from a distance was developed with the support of NASA as well. It measures thermal radiation emitted by your eardrum, a lot like they measure the temperature of stars and planets. Each device has a lens that focuses light from the object onto a special detector that converts radiation into an electrical signal and then into temperature that you can see on a display. It's used for many purposes, from monitoring hotspot temperatures in mechanical and electrical systems to checking the temperature of visitors in public places. I bet you didn't see this one coming. The technology behind selfies comes from that designed for interplanetary missions cameras. In the 1990s, one of NASA Labs, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, introduced a light mini imaging system that didn't need a lot of energy to take high-quality photos from space. This tech is used in cell phone and computer cameras, and if we go back to the 1960s, we'll find some good evidence that the whole idea of selfies could belong to astronauts. Edwin Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, took some selfies up there with a specially designed Hasselblad camera. He even used the spacecraft as a tripod to stabilize the image and get his face in it. Remember this if you ever end up in space with no one to take photos of you.
Have you ever stumbled upon something online that made you say, I wonder how I hadn't come up with something like that? Well, you're about to do it many, many times in a row. I mean, isn't this chair someone found at the food court of a mall the coolest thing ever? You won't have to put your bag on the floor or cheek every 2 minutes if it hasn't slipped down from your chair. Little notch, big difference. Can you guess what these metal things on the corner of the stairs are for? I was confused too, but it turns out that these are dust corners. And nope, they aren't just there as a fancy Victorian-style decor element. They actually keep dust from accumulating in the corners of the stairs to make it easier for you to sweep it out of there. This pan seems a bit weird, but in fact, it's just brilliant. You know when you fry the meat for hamburgers and then it takes you forever to get the grease off? Well, this shape makes it super easy to drain all that yucky liquid without a problem. No more scraping the pans. But if you love French fries, you gotta love this one. Isn't that mini bowl for sauce on the top of the packet très magnifique?
How many clothing items did you ruin while trying to remove the labels? It won't happen again if your new garments are going to be like this one here. The label is attached to a small piece of fabric and not the item itself. So even if you make a wrong move, your new shirt will be safe. Plus, it won't leave any tickling traces behind. Before you decide this onesie is defective, because you know, these two buttons are different from others in color, here's some news for you. It's actually one of those brilliant designs. These buttons are made different so that you can line them up easier. Driving on an icy road can be tricky and dangerous, but knowing what's ahead of you will help you get alert and pass it easier. This ice alert changes color into blue when it's freezing outside, so you know what to expect. Trying to plug in a USB drive, especially when you're in a rush, can be, well, quite annoying. But this one, with rounded edges, it's a whole new level of pluggability. And yes, you can now put it in either way, both up and down. If you've ever tried to assemble pretty much anything involving bolts, screws, and the like, you know one of those little guys can make a huge difference, especially when it's missing. So, thanks to whoever invented this set design that comes with a separate section with spare parts. Another helper for your do-it-yourself or rather fix-it-yourself endeavors, this O-ring bag comes with a scale, and you can double-check if you're getting the right sized detail. How much water do you need to boil for just 1 cup of tea? You don't have to know as long as you have this kettle that knows it for you. Coffee, though, is a completely different story. Don't be surprised if you get one of those fancy Italian coffee makers and they say it's for 2 cups, and a cup is for like 1 sip. The real espresso cup should be no bigger than 2 to 3 ounces to keep the rich taste and the temperature right. Moving on to our next genius design. Can you guess what this little hook inside the container is for? It will take care of that scoop that always swims somewhere in your way. Cocoa, flour, or pretty much anything that comes in powder form. Before I explain the next invention, do you know what the dirtiest spot in your bathroom is? Newsflash, it's not the toilet. We believe it's dirty, so we spend a lot of time and effort cleaning it. But the real champion when it comes to germs is the bathroom floor. Your toothbrush holds the second place, followed by the doorknobs, towels, and loofahs. That's why this elbow-operated bathroom door handle is so brilliant. Your plants are gonna love this one, and it will make taking care of them more fun for you. A watering can and a spray bottle all in one. Super handy. What kind of contraption is this one? A short online discussion tells us it's another hybrid, this time for cleaning window tracks. You should use the black part as a scraper to move the dust. Then, flip the gadget over and use the brush to sweep the dust into the tiny dustpan. I wonder if it'll work on my laptop keyboard. Another not-so-obvious design that sparked a whole discussion on the internet. This gadget that punches down has a row of pins that came in a box of craft supplies. Any ideas? If you love putting ribbons on gifts, you need this one in your life. This cool tool is for curling gift ribbons. You gotta pull the ribbon to one side, pinch it, then pull it back with force towards the tail end. And voila! You get a curly bow which takes your gift wrapping to the next level. And what about this one? Small silicone tube with 2 attachments on the sides. Well, do you remember that time when you were learning to hold a pencil and write? It would definitely be way easier with this gadget. It's a silicone holder that can be used to learn to hold pens, pencils, scissors, makeup brushes, and maybe other similar things. Feel free to get creative. One internet user found it in their hotel room. Must have kept them baffled for a while. But luckily, others knew exactly what this strange phone cord with plastic parts on both ends was for. It's a 2-sided retention cable for a TV remote. You can use it at home if you don't want to lose your remote anymore. But if you find it at the hotel, looks like they don't trust their guests that much and don't want you to keep the remote as a souvenir. Forget everything I said before. This machine of the future is my absolute favorite. because it can, ta-da, fold laundry for you. Yep, your shirts can look as good as they did when you bought them. Can you imagine a cuter holder for wireless headphones? Neither can I. Anyone still using ink to write long, romantic letters? Remember to tilt this bottle when it's 3/4 empty, and don't lose a drop of ink. This color coding system for boxes must speed up sorting and delivery a lot. All you have to do is memorize which color stands for what. Looks like someone is getting pork and vegetable dumplings out of this one. Washington, D.C. Metro took this idea to the next level and tested the color coding system on their handrails. They replaced the traditional black ones at one station over the weekend. Red was for red line, and yellow and green, you guessed it right, for yellow and green train lines. It was supposed to help passengers find which escalator they needed to reach the right platforms faster. Hiking fans, this one is for you. These boots transform from regular sneakers into ones that are perfect for walking on ice. These little spikes will save you from sliding, and they're gone. To whoever designed this ruler with a raised end, thank you. Looks like picking up the ruler off the table will no longer be a quest. If you have some family members who can't reach the sink yet, you might want to buy this cool piece of bathroom furniture right about now. Yes, the step pulls out like a drawer. And don't leave the bathroom just yet. You're going to love this toilet with a built-in sink. You wash your hands and the water will be used for your next flush. Ingenious! Can I interest you in this useful invention? It's an avocado slicer. You cut your favorite healthy snack in half, seed it, and then scoop out the slices. Neat! And we love the thrill and fun we get from the games like Monopoly and Taboo. But what did people play hundreds of years ago? Surprisingly, some of these games are still played today, and you can buy their replicas. Let me know which is your favorite at the end of the video. Let's start with one of the oldest board games in the world, the royal game of Ur. Also called the game of 20 squares, was invented around 4,600 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. The game was rediscovered when the excavation started in the 1920s in the Royal Cemetery of Ur in modern-day Iraq. The game wasn't only played by royals. People from all social classes enjoyed this two-player strategy race game. It was popular all over the Middle East, but its fame reached other places like Sri Lanka. Okay, Brightside, tell me how this game is played. It's similar to backgammon. People competed to get all their pieces from one part of the board to the other. To win this board game, you need to have a strategy, but also you needed luck. Besides entertainment, this game had a special importance regarding fortune telling. The events in the game were believed to mirror the player's future. According to this belief, the game transferred messages from deities or supernatural beings through the moves in the central squares. How come people stopped playing this game? Well, the game evolved with time, and then it was replaced with other board games. Senet is a board game from ancient Egypt, dating to around 3100 BCE. The objective of the game is to take all of your pieces off the board. You get 4 or 5 colored pieces. Then you use Senet sticks as dice. Players take turns. There are special rules on how and when you can move your pieces. For example, if you throw the sticks and get one face-up stick, you can move one space, but also get an extra turn. Archaeologists discovered Senet boxes in the ancient Egyptians' tombs. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife, and the word Senet means passing. That's why the game was also associated with the journey to the other side. So it was more than a game, sort of a symbol for the struggle to reach eternity. The game was played and admired by Tutankhamun and Queen Nefertari. It's no secret that the ancient Egyptians loved parties. If you'd been invited to a feast held by a person from the upper class, you would have seen musicians, jugglers, and wrestlers waiting to entertain you. You would have probably spotted some people playing Senet too. On the original board, you would have seen squares decorated with hieroglyphs representing additional rules of the game. Some models in our modern-day replicas also have such hieroglyphs. So far, we've looked at 2-player games. Now, let's look at a fun 4-player game. Mahjong originated in the Qing dynasty in China. But the world record for the longest game, which was set in 2012 when the game was played for 33 hours, doesn't belong to the Chinese. But the biggest Mahjong party did happen in China. 2,380 people were playing the game at the same time. In this game, the player's goal is to form melds with tiles to get points. The highest scored player will be the winner. The winner should form a mahjong. The tiles are traditionally decorated with Chinese characters, bamboo branches, and dots. There are more special tiles that have symbols like dragons and flowers on them, and they serve different purposes. The game resembles rummy, a card game. Mahjong became popular in Western countries in the 19th century, and now you can find different versions of the game all around the world and online. Moving on to India. Krita Patram is an ancient card game. Handmade round cards are made out of cloth pieces. The cards are decorated with depictions of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are India's greatest epics. So much so that they influenced the way of thinking and the belief system in the region. The game was played in the royal courts, but later it's believed to have been played by people from other social classes too. Before the game starts, a player assembles the cards into a deck and shuffles them to randomize the order. Let's return to ancient Egypt, but this time we'll have a look at a game that can be played by up to 6 people. Mehen got its name from a serpentine deity. It was played roughly between 3100 BCE and 2300 BCE. It's a board game in the shape of a coiled snake. The snake's body is divided into small rectangular zones. And yes, it's a snake game, but not similar to the one on old Nokia phones. Egyptologists say that this game is kind of a mystery because the rules and scoring system of Mehen is unknown. What they do know is that the game was played with sphere-shaped tokens. The players started the game from the tail and headed towards the head of the serpent, which was in the middle. The players had to race to get to the center. Additional lion-shaped gaming pieces added a little spice to the competition. The players had to strategically maneuver their pawns to special formations called blockades. There were some opportunities along the way for players to speed up the process through slides and jumps. This game had something in common with Senet, the other Egyptian game we've spoken about. Here too, the players had sticks to throw on the table, but instead of 2 colors, they had flat and round sides. Ludus Latroncalorum, aka Latrones, is a 2-player board game from the Roman Empire. The aim of the game is to test the military prowess of the players. It's played on grids. The precise rules of the game remain a mystery, though many scholars have worked on several reconstructions of Latrones. Among multiple interpretations of the rules, one explanation is widely accepted. It suggests that players moved pieces in all directions, aiming to surround and isolate the opponent's pieces with their own. Captured tokens were then moved away from the board. This game resembles chess or droughts in terms of the rules, but this one is more about military tactics. Luckily, the famous Roman poet Ovid mentioned this game in his poems, and we learned some of the rules thanks to his poems. I guess Ovid was a fan of game nights. I'd love to see what a game night looked like back then. Another strategy game from the Roman Empire is Nine Men's Morris. This long-forgotten board game was rediscovered in 2018 during excavations. It originated in 1400 BCE. In this game, rivals control their armies that consist of 9 men. Each piece represents different qualities on the grid-like playing field. If your opponent cannot form a mill or lose all their pieces but 2, then you become the winner. In Norway, France, Germany, and many other countries, especially in medieval Europe, there were different variations of Nine Men's Morris. Interestingly, Shakespeare mentioned it in his famous comedy, A Midsummer Night's Dream. The next game is Wari. It's also known as Mancala. It became popular in West Africa and then spread to the rest of the world. Here, 2 players want to beat each other by planning their moves. This game requires mental skills and lots of practice. In other words, wearing your lucky t-shirt won't help you win the game. Each player has 6 holes filled with seeds and a bank to collect the seeds. As a player, you want to get the seeds of your opponent. There are detailed rules for how you can collect the seeds, of course. You can play this game at home. Instead of seeds, you can use any small objects, like pebbles, marbles, or even M&Ms. Do you think these games will still be around 1,000 years from now? Chess, for instance, has made it this far, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Cowboys, cattle, lassos, tumbleweed, wanted posters, and more. What am I talking about? Manhattan? No, that's not right. It's the Wild West. How about joining me on my thrilling journey of yesteryear? We're out yonder in the Wild West in America during the mid-1800s, in a time when people could do whatever they wanted. They could pretty much always get away with it. But that there lawlessness was put to an end by a simple invention: barbed wire, also known as the thorny fence. Before this invention, cattle ranchers and cowboys could go wherever they wanted. They used the crops and water of the farmers to feed their herds along the way. Farmers didn't have many options to protect their land. Wooden and stone fences were expensive and hard to construct. Some farmers looked for alternatives and even tried using thorn bushes. But those plants took their sweet time growing out there. I mean, it took way too long to cultivate those bushes. Plus, all of these things could be torn apart easily, either by the weather conditions or by cattle. Then barbed wire came around. It spread the area in no time among farmers. For cowboys, these wires caused a big problem while transporting cattle. Many cows got wounded or sometimes worse when they scraped along the wire. Cowboys could protect the animals, but they couldn't create water and crops out of thin air on free land. Since they no longer had access to these consumables via farmers, they eventually lost their jobs. Now, tumbleweeds are icons of the Wild West. This spinning ball is actually not so friendly. It's a type of invasive weed. It can spread on the land easily and really fast. Today, it takes over vast agricultural fields of the arid West. By the end of the 1800s, it was already rolling across many western states, past the border, and headed to Canada. It isn't a native plant, so how do you get here? By ships. No, I mean it. This plant traveled via ships of European immigrants and arrived in South Dakota. When the plant withers, its bushy parts snatch away from the roots and fly away via the wind. It disperses seeds wherever it tumbles. A botanist was sent to examine the situation in the area by the government in the early 1890s. He reported that in 20 years, about 35,000 square miles of land had become covered with the Russian thistle. Tumbleweeds are both an agricultural nuisance and a fire risk. In fact, sometimes huge pileups bury houses and driveways because tumbleweeds have never stopped spreading. Did you know that real cowboys weren't wearing those oversized 10-gallon hats? These were made popular in the 1920s through Hollywood movies. In real life, however, cowboys, ranchers, and farmers wore flat-brimmed hats. I also learned that Vikings didn't actually wear helmets with horns. Yeah, most people imagine Vikings sporting their distinctive helmets, but that's again a misconception. Research reveals that the famed helmets were discovered nearly 2,000 years ago before the Vikings. Helmets with curved horns date back to the Nordic Bronze Age. Well, enough of the Vikings. They can get their own video. Let's return to the Wild West and look closer to camels. Yep, feral camels once ruled the state of Texas. The Camel Corps was instituted in 1856 at Camp Verde. The logic was simple. The environment of the Southwest was similar to the deserts of Egypt, arid and harsh. So, 66 camels were imported from the Middle East to Texas. The experiment worked, but later on, when they were not needed anymore, most of the camels were sold to different places, such as circuses. Some of them were freed to go wild. They escaped, but it's assumed that none of them remained alive to this day. The last feral camel seen in the area was in the year 1941. What else is there to talk about in the Wild West? Well, plenty of things, such as the famous California Gold Rush of 1849. It turns out that this wasn't America's first gold rush. In fact, not even the second. Imagine a young man working on his father's field in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. One day, he finds a funny-looking large yellow rock. Neither he nor his father knew what that rock was. They even used it as a doorstop for some years. One day, a jeweler visited them and recognized that gold nugget. This is how a 17-pound gold nugget was found in 1799. After that, the gold rush was on. Now, Billy the Kid was a legend when we talk about outlaws back in those days. Let's meet him a little closer. There's not much info about his early life. He was born in an Irish neighborhood in New York in 1859. He called himself William H. Bonney, although that wasn't his real name. Around the mid-1860s, Billy and his mother and brother traveled west to Indiana. Soon after, they moved even further west. At one point, he rode solo, and that's when he became famous and wanted. He had all these outlaw incidents before the age of 21, which turned out to be his last birthday. Billy became an icon and the subject of more than 50 movies. His Stardust fame began in 1911 with the silent film Billy the Kid. Imaginative title, huh? Roy Rogers, Paul Newman, Val Kilmer, and Emilio Estevez are some of the well-known actors who have played the role of Billy. Then, there's that other outlaw, Jesse James, someone else from the Wild West that you would see in a wanted poster. In 1876, he broke into the First National Bank of Minnesota with his team. Then, they kept raiding banks and trains. After those days, he was buried in the front yard of his farm. End of story? Not quite. As time passed, people who didn't like Jesse were also gone. The whole story was almost forgotten, and everything went logically until one point. A man named J. Frank Dalton claimed that he was the real Jesse James in 1948 at age 101. The court allowed him to legally adopt the bandit's name. Interestingly, DNA evidence showed that James was indeed buried in the cemetery. So why did this man come forward years later? The invention of photography put an interesting twist on the clash between good guys and bad guys. Authorities used photography as a way to show any future lawbreakers the fate that awaited them. Uh-oh. Bronco Billy Anderson is widely regarded as the inventor of the Western film genre. He was the star of the early 1900s. He produced and acted in literally dozens of films. After the groundbreaking The Great Train Robbery movie, he decided to build his career on this success by creating the Bronco Billy persona. He wrote and acted in many Western shorts and became the first cowboy idol. The next fact is about communication. It was a necessity to send messages quickly. Here comes the Pony Express. In the mid-1850s, the service started to operate. Nearly 50 letters and 3 newspapers were transported by horseback from Missouri to California, a nearly 1,200-mile-long distance. The horses were ridden fast. The system worked well because both the mount and rider were changed at 12-mile intervals. I know, it's a bit too much, but back then, it was effective in terms of reducing time. The horses can carry messages in about 10 days from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast. Then, of course, came the invention of the telegraph. You might associate cactuses with the Wild West more than telegraphy, but it had a huge effect. In 1837, Samuel Morse invented it, and the code needed to send messages. Miles and miles of telegraph poles and wires were erected in the country, and soon after, that Pony Express system became unnecessary. It had a short life after the telegraph. Now, with the telegraph, people send information almost instantly. Yet the biggest development that transformed the entire country was the construction of railroads. Along with the info, railroads transferred people, livestock, fuel, and all types of goods. The first railroad to link the continent from east to west was built between 1863 and 1869. New towns were rapidly created along the railways, and the Wild West had finally been tamed. Perhaps you were walking down the road recently and had to swerve away from a delivery robot. Maybe that robot even apologized for being in your way and wished you a good rest of your day. Or maybe you ordered a package online and had it delivered to you via drone. A good 10 years ago, these things would have seemed unimaginable. But some of us already live these realities, and it seems they're becoming more natural by the second. So, here comes a list of several examples of groundbreaking technology. I bet you'll still have to blink twice to check whether they're real or not. Robots. Now, the robots we used to imagine back in the day looked like R2-D2 from Star Wars, didn't they? But today, we're experiencing a true robotization of everyday life. If you have the means, you can buy a fridge that makes your grocery list for you, and can even look up recipes for your homemade dinner. You can buy virtual reality goggles to use on your treadmill and spend 1 hour of your day running along a beautiful cliffside in Greece without leaving the comfort of your home. Well, these examples are kind of extreme, but we don't have to go that far. Even our cell phones have their own intelligence now. They can answer your questions about the weather, or even call a number for you, so you won't have to dial it. If we've already gotten this far with technological advances, what will future robots look like, say, in another 10 or 15 years? A company called UBTech has been developing humanoid robots such as Alpha Mini. The Alpha Mini robot was designed to be a household companion. The robot has impeccable handwriting, can pour you a can of Coke, do your laundry, and even fold your clothes. But it's much more than that. This robot was made to interact with people like it's one of us, smiling, laughing, showing concern. It's flexible, can dance, and even do kung fu. Wow. This could be extremely creepy, but the truth is, these robots are very cute. They were designed to look lovable and easily become part of the family. Soon, robots such as this one may be a common thing in different households. Can you imagine? When Tesla launched its Model S car, which has an automated pilot mode, it seemed that the future had finally arrived. All those years we spent dreaming of the days when cars would drive us, and it was finally here. But not really. Even though self-driving cars are impressive, we still have a long way to go. Intelligent cars are able to recognize and respond to turns, red lights, and the proximity of other vehicles, but they still have a lot of blind spots. In real-life situations, some decisions need to be made quickly and instinctively, and this is something we haven't yet managed to teach our machines. Okay, so self-driving cars aren't as amazing as we thought they would be. But how far are we from having cars flying around in the atmosphere? Maybe not that far away, it seems. Actually, some companies are developing flying car prototypes as I speak. Should I talk faster? No? Okay. Those look like a hybrid of a helicopter, a tiny airplane, and you guessed it, a car. And how will these strange flying objects run, you might ask? The flying cars that are currently in development and at testing stages can perform a vertical takeoff much like a helicopter. For now, they're able to travel short distances of about 6 miles. Even so, it's still a car that flies. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm convinced the future is truly near. Few things are worse than waking up every morning and having to look at a tattoo you hate and regret doing. Thankfully, modern laser technologies allow us to easily erase the names of our exes off of our bodies. This might sound extremely cliché, but it's also very true, according to a Paris startup that invested over 3 million euros in developing top-notch shockwave tech focused on tattoo removal. The startup understood that this technology needed an upgrade because, until recently, it could take up to 2 years to get a tattoo fully removed. This meant that most people abandoned the process halfway through. Now, in 2 sessions, you can have a tattoo gone for good. Who knows, maybe in a few years, we'll be able to remove tattoos in the blink of an eye. Now, we still need to work on the front end of this tattoo situation, the decision to get one in the first place. What would you say if I told you that it's only a matter of time until commercial space travel becomes something more accessible to the world's population? Can you imagine spending your afternoon orbiting Earth? Well, I'm happy to inform you that these days are approaching faster than you can think, my friend. In 2021, billionaire Jeff Bezos took commercial space travel a step further. He took his rocket ship for a spin that lasted about 10 minutes and 10 seconds. But even though it was a brief trip, it marked a significant moment for the future of space tourism. Bezos had a suborbital flight, which is likely to become more widely available in the near future. These rockets dash to about 60 miles above Earth, where people on board can experience weightlessness and witness extraordinary views of our planet. The rocket won't get higher than that, though. For a while, orbital flights that can reach the International Space Station will still be ridiculously expensive, something along the lines of $55 million. But hey, it's a step-by-step process, isn't it? I say leaving Earth's atmosphere is already pretty neat. Now, in case you haven't been following this news, smart toilets are becoming even smarter by the minute. Fully electronic toilets are a hype that started in Japan, but they are gradually taking over the rest of the world. Westerners who have tried it say those who haven't are seriously losing the opportunity of revolutionizing their bathroom experience. Today, our technological advances have created toilets that play music and those that use UV light to eliminate bacteria. Some of them come equipped with a touchscreen panel that allows you to control the toilet's features. Of course, such toilets will raise the lid as soon as you approach and then close it themselves after you leave. They auto-flush and heat the seat so that you can sit on a nice warm cushion. What's next, you might ask? Well, keep watching this space. Would you eat your veggies if you knew they came out of a printer? I mean, literally? Today, thanks to 3D technology, some people have been experimenting with printing food. For anything to be made using such a printer, it must come from a mushy paste that can be squeezed from the machine's nozzles. The purpose of printing food has mainly to do with its presentation, like drawing complex geometrical shapes on top of printed cookies and basically turning your food into a piece of modern art. Printers have shown greater precision for this sort of work than human hands. You might have heard of solar panels before, but probably not like this. Let's just say technology has advanced to the point of turning solar panels into tiny solar film cells. If I may, these solar panels resemble old-school camera films. The difference is that these are highly efficient power generators. Such solar film cells are photovoltaic and can produce solar power at a much lower cost and with higher efficiency than the panels we currently use. Some are saying this is solar energy 3.0. Rather sooner than later, these film cells will be used not only to charge phones, but also to power entire buildings and even cities. They occupy very little space and absorb sunlight extremely effectively. Inventions such as these sure do make the future look bright, don't they?
You're shopping for a bike, and the friendly salesperson offers you to test the prototype for a new model using new technology straight out of space. It turns out you're already using some interstellar inventions on a daily basis. Regular inflatable rubber tires can't do so well on the perilous, rocky, and sandy terrains of the Moon or Mars. Curiosity Mars rover got some damage to its treads just 16 months into its mission. That's why airless tires relying on a mix of nickel and titanium were invented for NASA rovers. The material is flexible thanks to its tight molecular structure and can return to its original shape every time it deforms. The same airless technology should work great with bike tires down on Earth. The tires are tube-shaped and squash down whenever you roll over a bump. They will develop perfect shape memory over time. They're supposed to work best on gravel, trail, and mountain bikes. When it wears off eventually, the company plans to retread the tires to get the bike back on the trail and to make it last for years. The previous airless tire models were made of patented foam, supposed to last for up to 5,000 miles. They didn't take off because they made the bike too heavy. The new model is supposed to solve that problem and give the world innovative, lightweight, and durable tires. The same tech can be used in an all-terrain car and truck tires, high-performance sports, commercial aircraft, and even search and rescue missions. You gotta thank NASA for that comfy memory foam mattress you're using every night. Back in 1966, the original idea behind memory foam was to customize seats for astronauts to somehow ease the effects of G-force on takeoff and landing. It would be too impractical to create a custom seat for every flight, so memory foam became a perfect solution. It easily adjusted to an astronaut's body shape and went back into a rest state when not in use. Memory foam became available to the general public in the early 1980s and is now used in products from mattresses and pillows to amusement park rides, horseback saddles, and football helmet liners. Lenses used to be made of ground and polished glass. In 1972, a new regulation made their manufacturers turn to plastic to make them shatter-resistant. The new lenses were too prone to scratching, so NASA's invention of a diamond hard coating for astronaut helmets and other plastic aerospace equipment came in handy. The new tech was further developed and used for the production of scratch-resistant plastics. It's now used in most sunglasses, prescription lenses, and safety lenses in the US and around the world. The next time you clean your car's interior with a dustbuster, remember, you gotta thank NASA and their Apollo space mission for it. They wanted to come up with some portable self-contained drill to extract samples from below the moon's surface. They developed a computer program to produce optimal motor power and minimize power consumption. This program was later adapted and used to create a whole series of useful battery-powered home devices. The most famous of them was the cordless miniature vacuum cleaner under the original name of Dustbuster. In case you didn't trust the name, space blankets are indeed a product of NASA research. They're lightweight, usually gold or silver in color, and capable of reflecting up to 97% of radiated heat. That's just what you need to reduce heat loss from the body and stay warm and comfy in space. The material was originally designed for the exterior surfaces of spacecraft. Now you can see marathon runners at the end of the race wrapping themselves in those blankets to regulate body temperature. It normally drops right after you stop running. Another NASA invention is insulation called Radiant Barrier, made from aluminized polyester. It was designed to survive in wildly cold space temperatures and is now used in most home insulation. Freeze-drying tech for food was not created but greatly improved by NASA to pack more snacks on long Apollo missions. The idea is to cook food, then freeze it under low pressure, and then slowly heat it in a vacuum chamber to remove ice crystals. To bring it back to normal, you just have to add water. Thanks to this tech, food maintains 98% of its nutritional value with only 20% of its original weight. It's a great help for backpackers, disaster relief programs, and anyone who needs to pack light and still get proper nutrition. The infrared thermometer that lets us check temperature from a distance was developed with the support of NASA as well. It measures thermal radiation emitted by your eardrum a lot like they measure the temperature of stars and planets. Each device has a lens that focuses light from the object onto a special detector that converts radiation into an electrical signal and then into temperature you can see on a display. It's used for many purposes, from monitoring hotspot temperatures in mechanical and electrical systems to checking the temperature of visitors in public spaces. In the early 1960s, headsets for airline pilots used to be really bulky. They often used handheld mics to communicate. NASA needed a more reliable and lightweight technology for their missions to ensure communication, especially in case of emergencies. They got in touch with the pilots. Just 11 days later, the team came up with a microphone headset unit that could be used by astronauts to communicate with one another and with Earth. The headset was later improved and used for Mercury and Apollo missions. The world was able to hear Neil Armstrong's most famous phrase as he landed on the moon, thanks to that wireless headset. You gotta thank NASA for the improved version you use today. The idea behind LED technology dates back to the late 1980s. Back then, NASA was looking for a way to grow plants in space. They tested the tech using wheat and just red LEDs. It wasn't a success at first, but they solved the problem using blue fluorescent lights. The technology was developed and used in many medical devices and everyday items like electricity-saving LED bulbs. These days, they're way more efficient than their ancestors. Every time you take a selfie with your friends, you're using the tech that originated from the one for interplanetary missions cameras. NASA scientist Dr. Eric Fossum developed special active pixel sensors to make those cameras as small as possible and maintain the high image quality. This tech has become the leading one in the digital imaging industry. It made it possible to add miniature cameras to smartphones and other gadgets. Astronauts spend long periods of time in weightlessness and need a way to exercise regularly to stay in good physical shape. NASA took care of it and designed the anti-gravity treadmill, stimulating added weight and mimicking gravity. On Earth, the same method helps to lighten the load on your legs as you're working out. This tech is used by professional athletes and people trying to get back on their feet. You gotta thank NASA for your favorite pair of athletic shoes. They came up with a rubber molding process to absorb shock in space helmets and suits. The same idea was applied to athletic footwear and opened up new possibilities for professional sportsmen. And they're just way comfier for everyday use. The computer mouse was invented as part of a huge project aimed at augmenting human intellect. The inventors came to NASA in 1966 to test the mouse. It turned out the mouse was better and faster at manipulating objects on the screen than other gadgets like the light pen. The first mouse came with a cord in the front, but they moved it to the back to get it out of the way. The first patent for something that looked and worked like a joystick was filed in 1923. But it was NASA who made it something widely used. Astronauts in bulky suits needed a steering mechanism that would work with one gloved hand. The joystick was the best choice that spread to training simulators for astronauts and home computers. Invisible braces are a product of Ceradyne and NASA's Advanced Ceramics Research Program. You probably use them to straighten your teeth, but the original idea behind them was to find some material to use in structures protecting radar equipment. It had to be as transparent as possible for radar waves to pass through easily. It was doing well at its job, and in 1986, they got the idea to use this transparent and strong material in the dental industry.
You've been roaming this forest for several days. You want to drink, eat, and sleep. Scary animal screams don't allow you to rest at night. Everything around is damp, and you feel extremely cold. There's no hope, but you keep walking through the bushes. Suddenly, you see some movement out of the corner of your eye. Over there, behind the trees. What is it? A bear? Panther? Couple of wolves? The last thing you want to meet is one of these dangerous guys. But no, these are the rescue robots they've been talking about on TV. Several dozen machines fill the clearing. They look like dog-sized spiders. This shape helps the robots climb trees and reach mountaintops. Their bodies can withstand falls from big heights, deal with wild animals, fire, and water. These mechanical spiders have found you, thanks to their motion sensors and modern thermal imagers. That's what the robots of the future will look like. And here are some robots of today. Meet a soft robotic pillow with a tail. It can move and curl its tail when you touch it. What's our next goal? Mars colonization? Ha! Excellent! We're ready! I'll just go get my pillow. How likely is it that you'll want to eat a tomato while jogging? Let's admit it, the chances are probably very small. And still, Japanese designers have built the Tomaten robot. You're supposed to wear it on your back like a backpack. During a run, you only need to press a special lever, and the robot will bring a tomato toward your mouth. All that's left for you to do is just bite into it. In the middle of the 20th century, chemists William Larson and Anthony Finelli came up with the idea of a tubeless tire. It could be painted red, yellow, or green. The tire was semi-transparent. Engineers put 18 light bulbs inside it. The tire creators decided that people would surely like their idea. After all, they could make the color of the wheels match the color of their clothes. Unfortunately, the glowing tires never went on sale. They were beautiful, but not practical whatsoever. If you always bring your smartphone along while taking a bath, this invention is for you. That's a stylus that gets attached to your nose. You can use it to touch the screen when your fingers are wet. This gadget's creator is sure that the invention will make you more productive. And I think the stylus might keep your smartphone dry, but it'll definitely make your neck ache. How about a butter applicator in the form of a glue stick? With this invention, making sandwiches in the morning will become so much easier. The main challenge is not to confuse it with a real glue stick. Bacon lip balm is a great addition to the butter sticks. This product is already being sold online. Imagine rubbing your lips with a piece of fried bacon before going out. Not really my thing, but tastes differ. Here's an instruction on how to make the most unusual transport in human history. Step 1. Put some rails on the ground. Step 2. Put a treadmill on them. Step 3. Make horses run on this treadmill. This is a real transport that was constructed in 1850 and named Impulsoria. Surprisingly, it did work. The locomotive could move at a speed of 7 miles per hour and pull 20 wagons. But trains with steam engines turned out to be more convenient. In 1975, Gary Dahl, who worked in advertising, came up with an ingenious plan. He started selling smooth stones from one of Mexico's beaches as pets. People liked his idea. You don't have to go for a walk in the park with a stone. It doesn't bark in the morning. You don't need to feed it. The stone just lies on your shelf, looking pretty. Cool, huh? The entrepreneur sold 1 million pet rocks for $4 each. In the 21st century, a USB cable was added to the stone. You connect your pet to your computer and nothing happens. Juicero engineers came up with a curious thing. This machine was supposed to squeeze juice out of juice boxes. They planned to sell the devices for $400 each. The engineers spent $120 million, only to realize that any user could do the same thing as the device with their 2 hands. The only difference was that the machine had Wi-Fi. Bananas are delicious and convenient. Thanks to their dense skin, they don't break when you carry them with you. But for some people, this natural protection just doesn't seem to be enough. They don't like brownish marks on the yellow peel. Especially for them, one of the main inventions of the 21st century. This is a banana suitcase. The container will protect your banana from the dangers following it everywhere. How can you get your cat to work off the money you spend on its food? Let it clean the room while you're away. Japanese engineers came up with cat duster slippers. The cat walks on the floor and rids your home of dust at the same time. But I'm not sure your pet will like this idea. Hugs are very beneficial to health. They relieve stress and help your body produce endorphins, the hormone of happiness. But let's say you're far away from your relatives and friends, but you feel the need to hug someone. Good thing scientists have built a robot named HuggyBot. As tall as a human, it's soft and knows how to smile. This robot is made just for hugs. You just have to ask, and it'll gently hug you. Aww. When it comes to doing sports, bicycles are great. They help you burn calories, but you don't get as tired as after running. Maybe that's what inspired the creators of the mechanism known as the Fliz. They've made a bike that has neither pedals nor a saddle. You attach yourself to the bicycle's frame, and then you half walk, half run by pushing yourself off the ground with your feet. A monowheel was invented in 1869, which makes it 36 years older than the first pizzeria in the United States. The monowheel looks cool, but not everyone will dare to ride it. The driver can hardly see the road, and the transport itself is rather unstable while moving. These baggy jeans combine the world of fashion and the world of technology. Their front part has a built-in keyboard. It's connected to a computer via Bluetooth. But that's not all. The jeans are equipped with speakers located on the knees. The whole thing is sold with a wireless mouse stored in the back pocket. Wearing these jeans might prove to be challenging though. You sit down on a chair and your computer goes crazy. It turns out you've simultaneously pressed all the keys on the keyboard. Attention! Here's some important information for camping lovers. No more need to go to the forest carrying a heavy backpack with a tent behind your back. Australian design company Sibling decided to make your life easier. They sewed pockets to special sneakers and tucked a tourist tent inside. The only drawback, the frame of this shelter is your back and shoulders. Cooking and car exhaust, a bizarre combo. This invention is called the Car Exhaust Burger Grill. Attach the device to the exhaust pipe of your car and put a raw patty in it. As you drive down the highway, the hot exhaust gas is cooking your burger. But isn't smoke harmful to human health? Well, the designers thought of this too. That's why they completely isolated the pocket that's holding the patty. The greenhouse helmet was patented in 1986. Imagine a plastic aquarium with several shelves of plant pots. This so-called aquarium is put on your head, and it allows you to breathe fresh, clean air when you're walking through the center of a big city. If you need to talk to people, you can use the helmet's two-way communication system. I wonder if the helmet's instruction manual mentions that it's prohibited to plant cacti inside. This gift is perfect for people who like searching for artifacts on the beach. A metal detector was added to good old sandals. Now you can walk along the sea and discover coins in the sand without too much effort. This strange headgear is likely to solve the main problem of humanity, which is how to stop losing the TV or air conditioning remote control. Several Velcro straps are attached to the invention. They can easily hold a small portable device. The only problem? You look kind of weird. Some people might find it too much work to stick out their tongues and lick ice cream. Especially for them, engineers came up with the motorized ice cream cone holder. The creators of this device claim that thanks to its gentle spinning, each side of the sweet treat will receive your equal attention. Plus, it'll protect your hands from sticky stuff dripping down your fingers. The newest toy for dogs and other animals looks like a stick and can be made of plastic, rubber, or wood. It's still unclear why the inventors weren't satisfied with regular sticks from the forest. I'm pretty sure your dog won't know the difference.
Over 100 years ago, an 11-year-old boy left his drink on a porch during a cold night. The glass was filled with powdered soda dissolved in water and a stirring stick to mix it up. 20 years later, Frank Epperson, that very forgetful boy, presented his accidental invention, the popsicle, in a California park. There's no record of the original popsicle flavor, but among the very first were cherry, the most popular one, lemon, orange, banana, watermelon, grape, and even root beer. Chocolate chip cookies are somewhat younger than popsicles, having been invented in the 1930s. Ruth Wakefield, the owner of a popular restaurant named the Toll House Inn, is considered to be the inventor of these scrumptious cookies. There are various stories behind this invention. One story claims that Ruth ran out of baker's chocolate and decided to replace it with some basic semi-sweet chocolate, expecting it would melt completely, but it didn't. Another story says some chocolate just accidentally fell into the batter. Ruth denied the accidental origin of her cookies, claiming that it was all done deliberately. There are many legends behind the creation of the potato chip. One claims they were invented in 1853 by a chef at a luxurious New York restaurant. French fries were one of the specials at this restaurant, and people seemed to love them. But there was one customer who wasn't satisfied with the quality, complaining they were too thick. When the chef, George Crumb, not crummy at all, cooked thinner French fries, the picky customer complained again. George deliberately made his next batch of fries paper thin. These fries were so thin, it was impossible to eat them with cutlery. Surprisingly, the finicky eater loved the dish. The chips recipe spread, and within a few decades, potato chips could be found in all the American grocery stores, turning from a hot dish to a fast snack. Worcestershire sauce is another product that wasn't invented deliberately. Two English chemists, John Willie Lee and William Henry Perrins, simply forgot about some barrels in the pharmacy basement for a couple of years. The first mixture they had made was totally inedible due to super strong flavor. But when they forgot some barrel of the mixture in the basement, it became fermented. When the chemists rediscovered the barrels and were curious to try it, they found that the taste had mellowed. This condiment is now used to intensify even those dishes that originally didn't have it. For example, chili con carne. Worcestershire sauce is part of the fifth flavor, umami, or savoriness, which explains its rich taste. Tofu, or bean curd, was invented centuries ago. One of its origin theories is that tofu was first created by a Chinese prince. Another theory claims that tofu appeared as a result of mixing boiled ground beans and sea salt. The salt was quite impure and probably contained calcium and magnesium. These ingredients let the bean mixture produce its curd-like consistency. One more legend says that some nigiri, a sort of evaporated sea salt, was accidentally dropped into soy milk. Today, doctors tell you to stay away from Coca-Cola, but it was surprisingly invented by John Pemberton, who had a medical degree and was a pharmacist. Pemberton's French wine coca was initially used as a remedy for severe pains, headache, and as a nerve tonic. In 1886, a prohibition law was introduced, and John had to change the recipe to remove the alcohol. One thing was left unchanged though, the cola nut that gave the drink its trademark flavor. Some legends say that John only accidentally added carbonated water to the new recipe, but in fact, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. Pemberton thought bubbles were a savory alternative to alcohol. John's Cola is definitely the Coke precursor, but today's drink differs from the original Pemberton's recipe. The sandwich was invented by accident too. Back in the 1700s, John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, ordered his valet to make him a simple dish that could be eaten with no cutlery at all. He asked the valet to tuck some meat in between 2 loaves of bread. Lord Sandwich was particularly addicted to playing cards, and this dish let him eat without stopping the game. The cards didn't get greasy either. People started asking to bring the same as sandwich to their games, and soon the dish had its common name. The tomato ketchup we eat today is such a modified version that it actually has nothing to do with original ketchup recipe. You can trace its roots back to the 17th century, when the Chinese mixed pickled fish and spices, calling it a word that sounded a bit like ketchup, and which meant the brine of pickled fish. The English first tried this sauce about 100 years later. The British version featured mushrooms, shallots, and even walnuts. Later, the word ketchup changed its meaning and could be used for any dark-colored sauce. The first tomato ketchup had anchovies among its ingredients, which hints back to its relation to the Chinese fish sauce. Nachos aren't some ancient Mexican food. They were invented less than 100 years ago. Ignacio Anaya, nicknamed Nacho, is said to have invented this dish in the 1940s. Ignacio was a chef, and one day a regular customer asked if Ignacio could bring her and her 3 friends something different as a snack. He saw how hungry the ladies were and decided to cook something quick for them. He had to improvise using available ingredients. So, he grabbed some fried tortillas, grated loads of cheese on top of them, and heated the dish from above. To make the dish more savory, he added some jalapeno peppers on top. The very regular customer asked the name of the unusual snack. Ignacio didn't think long and said, "Nachos Special." Cheese puffs used to be a waste product in the 1930s. Edward Wilson noticed some oozing corn in one of the machines at a factory that produced flake food for animals. Those ribbons seemed interesting, so Edward decided to take them home and try to season them. He also noticed that the puffy corn hardened if it was exposed to air. The experiment turned out to be a success, so it was later developed into a world-famous snack. Now, instant noodles weren't invented by mistake, but there were several mistakes while inventing them. The main idea was to create something with a long shelf life. After several unsuccessful attempts, Momofuku Ando invented the method of preserving the noodles. They were processed in various ways, like steamed, dehydrated, fried in hot oil, and seasoned. And instant noodles used to be a luxury product, since they cost way more than the fresh noodles everyone was used to. Another product that was invented unwittingly is yogurt. It first appeared in Central Asia thousands of years ago. Some herders stored milk in a place with an abundance of bacteria without knowing it. The milk was fermented, and it resulted in a thicker texture and flavor change. One of the herders wasn't scared of that kind of dish and tried it. Nothing bad happened to him, so other people started eating it too. Today, pink lemonade has that nice color because of grape juice or added colorants. But there are 2 legends of how it was invented, and both feature circus workers. The first story alleges that Henry Allott, who worked in a circus, unwittingly dropped a few red cinnamon candies in the lemonade, which gave it that vibrant pink color. The other story is gross. It claims that circus worker Pete Conklin one day ran out of water for lemonade and instead used the water from the tub where one of his colleagues had washed her red stockings. The color of the pants turned the water pink. Pete added some sugar, slices of lemon, and acid. He called it strawberry lemonade. The customers liked it a lot, and his sales doubled. Yes, the people were panting for the stuff. The tarte tatin, which is a caramelized upside-down version of an apple pie, was cooked for the very first time by mistake. 2 sisters, Stephanie and Carolyn Tatin, ran a hotel in the 1800s. One day, Stephanie wanted to cook a simple apple pie, but she stewed the apples in butter for too long. To conceal her mistake, she put the crust on top of the apples and put it in the oven. When she took the pie out of the oven, she noticed several burn marks. It was a bad cooking day. She didn't want the guests to notice, so she flipped the pie over and presented it as a brand new recipe. Surprisingly, the guests just loved the pie, which soon became their signature dessert. Okay, gotta go. I'm really hungry. Remember moving around on those scooter boards during gym class? Or, more accurately, bashing your fingers repeatedly while holding onto the handles? Somehow they managed to be designed perfectly to cause the most finger damage as possible. But it turns out that we all miss the actual use of these handles on the slides. Guess what? They're finger guards, not handles at all. The plastic loops on the sides of the boards were designed to protect your fingers from the exact walloping that we all gave ourselves by using them wrong. See, the correct way to hold on is to slide your hands through the hole and grip the base of the board itself. This way, you'll block your knuckles from knocking into other boards and obstacles while you're having the time of your life scooting around. When you're getting out of the shower and wrapping yourself in a cozy bathrobe, which way are you supposed to tie it? This way, right? With the belt through all the loops tied around your waist? I mean, that's how all belts work. Is it a trick question? Yup. Bathrobes actually work better tied like this. Slide the belt through the first 2 loops on the front and pull it tight. It's so much easier to wrap it nice and tight. Look at this division symbol. I bet you've never put together what the little-known meaning behind the design is. It's a fraction, but with the numbers replaced by dots. Makes perfect sense, right? Why didn't any of us notice it? If you slice open an avocado but don't use it, there's a way to keep it from going brown. Store it in a glass of water in the fridge. It'll last 2 to 3 days longer. When you're microwaving some popcorn for movie night and are about to pour it from the bag into a bowl, stop. There's actually a useful feature built into the microwavable bags that barely anyone uses. Once it's all popped, the end of the bag will have a slight opening. Before you tear it open wider, tip the bag upside down and shake it. It's designed to let the pesky unpopped kernels fall out. Shake them all out, and you'll have a perfect bowl of popcorn every time. Sunblock has an unknown use that could come in handy if you ever have a permanent marker on your skin and a can of sunblock spray handy. Just spray it on the marker and wipe off. There you go. It also works on hard surfaces like your kitchen tiles. So the next time you unleash your artistic talent with a Sharpie somewhere you shouldn't, you're covered. If the batteries in your remote run out of juice, there's a hidden feature to give them a bit more life. Take them out and rub the ends together on both sides. This cleans off the connectivity points and gives the chemicals inside time to redistribute. This means you've got more time to run to the store to buy more batteries. Look up. See your ceiling fan? Okay, if you don't have a ceiling fan, just go with it and imagine you do. Well, it has a hidden feature that you probably don't know. It might be a switch on the fan itself or a button on the remote, but most fans have the ability to change directions. And there's a reason you really want it to. In winter, you want it to spin clockwise, which pushes all the hot air from the ceiling down. In the summer, you want to spin it counterclockwise to pull the cool air that pulls around the floor up to circulate around the room. This next one's a huge deal. Your microwave probably has a silent mode. Yeah, that's right. All your 3 a.m. burritos that you heated up with your finger hovering over the stop button to hit it 1 second before the timer went off could have actually been a lot less stressful. It depends on the mode, but by either pressing or holding the 0 or 1 button, you should be able to activate the silent mode. Now you can microwave to your heart's content anytime. Those springy door stops at your baseboards that make the boing sound aren't just door stops. They're also door holders. By holding them down and opening the door over them, the spring latches onto the bottom of the door and locks it open. Yeah, we all missed that one. Did you know you've probably been putting on your running shoes wrong? See, there's a small hole at the top where the laces end that's called a heel lock. Can you guess what it does? Yeah, it locks your heels. That way, they don't slip around and give you a blister or slide your sock down, which is just the worst feeling, isn't it? So what you're supposed to do is loop each lace into its heel lock hole, which creates a small loop. The opposite lace then goes through that loop. Tie your laces tight just like you normally would, and whoa, your heels are secure. Speaking of shoelaces, if you accidentally knot them so well that even you, with your incredible muscles, can't undo them, there's a common baking ingredient that has a hidden feature that can help. Yep, you heard me right, a baking ingredient. Cornstarch can make your gravy thicker, or it can untie stuck knots. It's so talented! Just sprinkle it on any knot, coating it completely, and it will slide free easily. It works on necklaces, ropes, yarn, etc. It doesn't work on knots in your muscles though, unfortunately. But hey, you can always give it a try. Uh-oh, did you put on your friend's ring without thinking how much smaller their hands are than yours? And now it's stuck. Just grab a bottle of Windex, my friend. Yup, Windex cleans your windows, of course, but it also has a neat little secret talent at removing stuck rings. A little spritz, and that bling will slide right off. Cool, huh? Why has no one ever taught us that? Let's say you're writing something in pencil, like an exam, but whoops, you forgot your eraser. Strangely, you didn't forget to bring your bread to the test. So you've got that, which is all you need to clear up that mistaken answer you just wrote down. Roll the bread up tightly until it has a texture best described as, well, eraser-like. Then go at it, erasing like you normally would. Why have the bread makers been hiding this from us? This could have been useful in so many situations when I brought bread to my school exams. If you wear leather jackets, first off, you're cool. Second off, you're probably missing out on a hidden feature that's not so hidden and is actually in plain sight. The straps on the top of the shoulders of your jacket aren't just for decoration. If you unbutton them while you slide on the straps of your bag, you can clip them shut again over your bag straps, locking them in place. No matter how many jumping jacks or cartwheels or breakdancing headspins you do, your bag is not going anywhere. When you need to wrap up some leftovers, tin foil is your friend. But it also has a place in the laundry room because of this secret use. Imagine you run out of dryer sheets. Your clothes come out of the dryer full of so much static that they make your hair stand up straight like a cartoon evil scientist's. Here's what you need to do. Crush up 2 sheets of tinfoil into tight balls. Throw those clothes back in the dryer with the balls and give them another round. They'll come out static-free. After you make hard-boiled eggs, they're in hot water. Some would say boiling hot. So how do you get them out easily without reaching in? A whisk. Push it over the egg and it will pop into the wire cradle. Now you can pull it right out with ease and comfort. The colors of the clips on bread bags actually convey a secret meaning. They're showing you the day of the week that the loaf was packaged. Blue means Monday, brown means Tuesday, and white means Friday. Yeah, it's not just random colors. And most bread brands follow the same system because there's one company that supplies a lot of these clips. So when picking out the perfect loaf, you can gauge the freshness by the color. It's your birthday party. You made a wish and blew out the candles. It's time to cut this delicious round cake. Your guests can't wait to taste it. Wait a minute. Are you sure you actually know how to cut it? Normally, people prefer making V-shaped slices by default. Although this method is very popular, it's far from perfect. Some guests won't get enough frosting, while others will get too much. And besides, cakes are pretty fragile, so crumbs can fall all over the place. This alternative method went viral because of its incredible practicality. All you need to do is press a large cutting board against the cake very gently. Then slice the cake across horizontally and move the long piece onto the cutting board. Now you can cut one big slice into several smaller slices for the guests. This will give them a chance to order exactly as much or as little dessert as they really want. Wait, who wants just a little dessert? You will also prevent the leftover cake from drying out too soon. And if someone asks for more, just keep repeating the cutting board trick as many times as you need to. If the number of guests at your party doesn't match the small size of your cake, there's an easy tip to make sure everyone's served. Cut the cake into small cubes, put them into paper baking cups, and pierce the slices with a toothpick to make sure the layers don't fall apart. You can serve this cake canapé on a tray. When you don't have a knife at hand to cut a cake, dental floss will help you out. If you manage to do the work gently, the floss will glide through your cake with ease and keep the icing decoration in perfect order. This method is also very handy when you want to cut pie or cake layers horizontally. Of course, it's better to use dental floss with a neutral flavor if you don't want to feel the minty frost in your dessert. You're hanging some pictures or framed diplomas on a wall – I have several – but they refuse to hang straight. If you're using a wire and only one nail, it's very likely that the picture will get crooked. So the better solution is to use 2 nails. They will help the artwork stay there straight. Also, make sure that the wire is only as long as it needs to be. Otherwise, the excess slack will make the picture stagger on the wall. And finally, you can use these small clear sticky tabs. Stick them on the bottom corner of either side of your frame pictures and prevent them from slipping. Now, even the highest quality markers stop working sooner or later, but that's not a reason to say goodbye to them. Glue the markers around the outer edge of a regular flower pot. Then spray this construction with gold paint. You'll get a glamorous vase that will spice up your interior. To complete this project, you can use not only a pot, but any other cylindrical vase or tin cans that match the size of your markers. Have you ever spilled your hot drink down on your clothes as you were walking from the cafeteria to your desk? Probably yes. Most people wrap their hands around the mug or use a handle. But none of these methods is perfect because they leave room for burns. Recent studies have revealed the best way to hold a coffee mug to prevent any spillage. And I bet you don't use it on a daily basis. Put your hands in a claw-like shape and grip your mug from above with your fingers. This will protect you from burning your palm and keeping your outfit tidy. And besides, it looks kind of elegant. Now, in case you didn't know, there are little tabs on the sides of your foil container. You're supposed to push those in. Now, when you pull the foil out, it's going to glide effortlessly, and the foil tube will be fixed in the container. Shoe stores usually sell their items with small plastic hangers. Don't rush to throw away this accessory, it's not so worthless. If your shoes ever get wet, you can use it to hang them on a radiator, so they dry quickly and evenly. This trick is especially handy when you get your feet wet on the way to work. If you like to wash and dry your shoes in a washing machine to keep them fresh and tidy, you know that it can get really noisy. To avoid the sound of rocks rolling around the drum, put your shoes and your laces inside a mesh laundry bag. If you don't have a laundry bag, try using an empty pillowcase. You can also put a large old towel in the washing machine together with your shoes. It'll rub against the shoes and provide additional cleaning. Just make sure you don't wipe your face with this towel afterward. Glass cleaning spray is a great emergency tool to restore your patent leather shoes. Just spray it on your shoes and wipe them using a soft dry cloth. Voila! Shining bright like a diamond. Got some creases on your shoes? No panic. Stuff your shoes tightly with some fabric to bring them back to their original shape. Then put a damp towel over the crease. Gently steam the crease with an iron. It'll get softer or disappear completely. Here's a genius tip for storing and serving fresh herbs. Cut and mix different herbs, then put them in a plastic bottle. Screw the cap and keep it in your fridge. Now you don't have to chop your herbs every time you're cooking something. You can also make an exclusive salad dressing. Just add some oil, spices, and sauce into this bottle and shake it to mix all the ingredients. When you're reheating your food in a microwave, some part of the meal gets too hot while the rest of it stays frosty. So, in case you've been looking for different tips to deal with this issue, here's the classic one. Put your food on a plate and make a hole in the center so that your meal is donut-shaped. This way, the microwave will heat it more evenly. But don't put the dish in the center of the turntable. To heat it evenly, it's best to keep it on the outer edge. If you need to heat up 2 meals at the same time, put a clean upside-down cup inside the microwave. Then put your second plate on top of that cup. There you go. It's easy and time-saving. You can squeeze lemon juice out using ordinary kitchen tongs. Cut the lemon in half and put 1/2 into the tongs. Now press them under a bowl to collect the juice. Add some water, sugar, and ice, and enjoy your lemonade. You're cooking popcorn in a microwave and can't wait to start watching the new episode of your favorite show. After 1 or 2 minutes of microwaving, little hard kernels still stay on the bottom of the popcorn bag. People tend to grab them by mistake. Biting these little betrayers can be fatal for your teeth. But luckily, there's a little slit in the bottom of the bag. Here's what you're supposed to do. When your popcorn is ready, don't rush to open the bag. Turn the bag upside down and shake it vigorously under a bowl. All the unpopped kernels will come out. Now you can enjoy your snack safely. If you have accidentally burnt the food on your stove and want to avoid dealing with fire detectors, here's a simple trick. One of the best ways to remove smoke quickly is to use a half-wet towel. Hold on to the dry side of the towel and keep flinging it around over your head. The damp part of the towel will absorb the solid particles in the smoke very quickly. And there's no need to use a knife to peel kiwi. Just cut off the top and the bottom of the kiwi. Then gently insert a tablespoon inside of the kiwi and twist it to separate the skin from the fruit. Wow, your kiwi is now peeled. However, some people prefer eating kiwi with skin. It's perfectly edible and provides lots of fiber, folate, and antioxidants. So, if you don't mind this fluffy texture, go ahead. But don't forget to wash it first.
The little piece of fabric you find in your new clothes, often with a button on it, isn't for emergency hole patching. You can use it to test if the material fades or stains in the wash before you get the whole thing in and can seriously damage it. The drawer at the bottom of your stove will keep your food warm for when you throw a party and have to cook plenty of dishes. The one that's currently in the oven will pass on its heat to the one in the drawer. In case you never know how much pasta to put in for boiling, use the hole in the middle of your pasta spoon for reference. It measures up to exactly 1 portion of dry noodles. When it's ready, you can use the spoon to take your spaghetti out like you normally would. The large gaps between the floor and the door in public toilets are there to make you feel uncomfortable and leave faster. It's also easier to clean such spaces and safer in case of emergency. The tiny plastic disc under the lid of your soda bottle is there to keep your drink fizzy. The cap prevents the liquid from leaking out, and the plastic disc holds the gases inside. Don't try to clean your shoes with escalator brushes. They are there to mark the edges of the steps. If you get too close to the edge, you risk getting your shoelaces or loose hanging clothes in the gap between the stairs and the wall. When you feel the brush on your leg, you instinctively step back into safety. There are several theories explaining why the King of Hearts is the only one without a mustache. One says he was designed as part of a poem. The king had 4 sons, and only one was cleanly shaven. He left him with no inheritance. Another theory says the mustache was just lost in the reproduction of the original design because of a mistake. It could also be a way to show that he is more honest and noble than the other kings. The Ace of Spades is larger and better decorated than the others because of tax laws introduced in England around the 17th century. Card manufacturers had to pay so-called stamp duty tax. They added physical stamps on the highest card of the deck to show that they've paid the tax. The tradition to decorate the Ace of Spades in such a way remained even after the tax had been cancelled. A jerry can hold its contents even in the craziest of roads. Its triple-barred handle across the top is designed to make sure the fuel inside is evenly distributed when 2 people are carrying it and hold on to it on either side. When you're doing it solo, use the middle handle to make things easier. The loops sticking out on the back of your boots are there to help you pull them on easier. Pull them up while you're trying to push your heel into the boot. You can also use them to hang your boots on the hook to dry after washing or when they're dirty. Or you can run the laces through them to tie them around your ankles. Most metallic zippers have little hidden groove locks inside to keep you from getting into some awkward situations. To help it do its job, don't leave the zipper handle in an upward position. It automatically locks when you pull it downwards. The strings on a pack of cotton pads are there to let you hang it on something. Tear the perforated line at the bottom of the pack to pull the pads out easier. The blue bristles on most toothbrushes are there to remind you when it's time to get a new one. When they fade, you gotta hit the store. When you get a new car or rent a vehicle while traveling, the little arrow on the gas pump will save you a bunch of time. It shows which side of the car the tank is on. You don't have to tear off one of the ends of stick sachets of sugar or salt. Instead, tear them down the middle. It's much easier and will leave you with fewer bits of paper. Bottles have long necks to let you enjoy your cold drink. Hold the neck instead of the body of the bottle, and the magic will work for you. The same is with fancy glasses. Hold it by the stem, and you won't heat it with your hand. Doorknobs are often made of brass, bronze, or some other copper alloys to protect you from harmful bacteria. These materials have the superpower of getting rid of germs on their own within a couple of hours. You can use metal loops on the sides of a grocery cart to organize your space smarter. Hang your jacket or a bag of delicate items like eggs or bread on the loop, and voila! Your jacket won't get wrinkled and the eggs won't get squished. Twist your pop can tab around and use the hole on the other end to put a straw through it. The special oval-shaped compartment under the flap of the Tic Tac container is there to make it easier to extract one little mint at a time. Your earphones have holes in the bottoms to let air circulate up and down through the speakers. It improves sound quality and gives you better low frequencies, making the bass sound deeper. The black lines on the basketball are there to make the game easier to play. They're actually grooves helping you handle the ball. Control is crucially important for players that need to move around the court while bouncing the ball. The black lines give you a better grip of the ball. They also let you easily steer it in any direction once it's in your hand. You wouldn't be able to do it with a smooth basketball. The microwave door seems completely black when you aren't using it, but as soon as you turn it on, you can see through it. It doesn't have black glass in it, but a special mesh against regular glass. It keeps all the microwave energy inside safely. Don't throw away silica gel you find in bags, shoes, and many other new things you buy. This gel absorbs excess moisture. A few packets can save your shoes after a walk in the rain. Bath foam has an important function in addition to its delicious smell. It helps regulate the water temperature and keeps it nicely warm for longer. It only works for acrylic bathtubs though. Metal ones lose heat quickly anyway. Thanks to the metal tip with a small dot on the end of a measuring tape, you can hang it on a nail or a screw to use it without anyone's help. If the tip has a row of sharp points around the edge, you can use that side to leave marks without a pencil. The 57 etched into the neck of a glass ketchup bottle is there to make your life easier. It shows you the best spot to tap to get the sauce out of the bottle. Just turn the bottle at an angle and hit exactly on that point to get it flowing. The little sharp point on an ointment tube cap will help you easily open the foil layer most tubes are sealed with. If you put together all the UK coins from a penny to the 50p piece together with their backs, you'll see the royal coat of arms. Back in the day, when coins were made of real gold and silver, people used to shave off pieces from the side to melt them into a new coin. To stop this, coin minters started using a pattern with ridges on its edges. This way, you could easily tell if someone tampered with the coin. That's why nickels and pennies still have smooth edges, and dimes and quarters come with ridges. The half belt you see on many trench and pea coats was originally invented for men in the military. They had oversized jackets that were also used as blankets. The half belt helped them gather the extra material and hold it so they could walk normally. The tiny bumps on the F and J keys on your keyboard are there to help you find the right key without even looking down. You're supposed to place your index fingers of both hands on them when you start blind typing. The little dot between the camera and the flash on the back of your iPhone is the third microphone used for noise cancellation during a conversation and better sound quality during video recording. The cap of your detergent can help you figure out exactly how much of it you need. Pay attention to the marker on it. If it's not that obvious, study the instructions. It'll let you know how to measure the detergent. Converse shoes were originally designed for basketball players. The 2 extra holes on the side near the bottom were added to them to fit any basketball player's foot. Thanks to them, sportsmen were able to customize the fit and keep the laces in place. Paper margins were invented to prevent important information from being eaten by rats. The critters would normally chew books and papers on the edges, so people stopped writing close to them. The dimples on the surface of the golf ball increase its lift and reduce air resistance. It helps the ball go further. These dimples don't have to be spherical. They can be of any shape. Consult a specialist when choosing a ball to get the best performance.
The red side of the eraser rubs the pencil particles out of the paper. The blue side is stiffer and scrubs off a thin layer from the paper itself. That's why it's for tougher grades of paper, no matter if you're trying to get rid of pen or pencil. When your utility knife is getting dull, use the removable part on the end of the handle to snap off the dull piece of the blade. You'll get a new sharp one. A pen cap has a small hole in the top in case you accidentally swallow it. Thanks to it, your airway won't be blocked. A regular can opener is a handier alternative to scissors. Run it along the edge of some packaging and enjoy never struggling to open anything again. If you want to create easily removable temporary staples, rotate the stapler base and the pins will be bent outward. A lid on a paper or plastic to-go cup makes an excellent coaster. It's exactly the right size to fit the bottom of the cup. The lid's lips also catch dripping condensation from cold drinks. You can use your nail polish to make a protective seal or stick some things together. It will do the trick thanks to its adhesive and waterproofing abilities. Your suit jacket most likely comes with an extra pocket on the right side. This is a ticket pocket that was originally invented to store coins for people on horseback to pay toll booths without having to open their jackets. Later, it was used to hold train tickets and passes. The pocket on the left chest was used to store handkerchiefs and keep them clean. The two zips for one section of your bag are there to safeguard it from pickpockets. If you put a small lock between the two zippers, no one will be able to open your backpack without you knowing. The crown of the Statue of Liberty has 7 points, one for each continent of the world. The Lady Liberty wasn't always green. It was made from copper and iron of shiny brown color when it first arrived in America from France. Over the years, the copper started to oxidize, and the statue became green as we know it today. The statue was initially supposed to serve as a lighthouse for ships sailing under the New York harbor. It was used for this purpose for 16 years, but the light wasn't bright enough. There was an idea to cover it in gold to make it brighter. That idea didn't go through with Congress. The tiny holes in the bottoms of locks are there to let the excess water drain out easily on rainy days to avoid corrosion. It's also the perfect spot to add oil to make it open and close easier. The right way to store peanut butter is upside down. When you keep the jar in this position, the oils don't come up on the surface. They put buttons on the left side of women's garments because it was easier for the right-handed maids to dress them. Even though most people dress themselves these days, the tradition remains. Buttonholes on a shirt are mostly vertical, but the top and sometimes bottom are horizontal. These two slip out more often than other buttons. The horizontal buttonhole is more likely to stop your garment from opening when you least expect it. Tri-colored toothpaste with red for gums, white for whitening teeth, and blue for fresh breath is just a marketing trick. Any soil-colored toothpaste has all the same components. They're just mixed up. The curves on a bobby pin aren't there to make it look fancier. The true purpose for that zigzag is to grip the pin into place. It holds the underlying bulk of hair way better than the smooth side. So, the right way to wear those pins is wavy side down. Your Chinese food container can easily transform into a plate. You just have to open it up. The best part is you don't have to clean it afterwards. If your box of chocolates comes with a little dent in between the holes, the easiest way to take the candy out is to push the dent. The chocolates around it will instantly pop out. You can learn when your bread was baked by the colorful plastic tag on its bag. They add blue tags on Monday, Tuesday is green tag day, Thursday, red, Friday, white, and on Saturday, you can buy fresh bread with a yellow tag. Most pants have creases running down the front due to historical reasons. When it was really expensive to transport goods, they tried to squeeze in as many pairs as possible. Folded pants got heavily pressed to take less space. They couldn't get rid of creases later and made them something fashionable. The hole in the elevator doors the size of a dime is a keyhole. If you get stuck inside, an operator can insert a special key in this hole to open the doors manually. They use the same tool when an elevator needs routine maintenance. The hole in the middle of a donut isn't there for an easier grip. It makes mass baking easier, with all donuts being evenly cooked all the way through. At first, you could only find diamond slits on backpacks if they were traveler bags. Their only purpose was to carry ropes. Now, such slits are on pretty much every backpack. You can use them to carry a bottle of water, an umbrella, or a pair of sneakers. For those cases when you buy a yogurt but you don't have a spoon with you, use the foil lid instead. Twist it to the shape of a spoon and you're good. There are magnetic locks on fuel hoses at gas stations. They can help you out if you decide to drive away with the gas nozzle still attached to the car. In this case, the lock detaches the hose automatically. There's a theory explaining the true purpose of pom-poms on clothing. French sailors used to hit their heads against the cabins of their boats when out at sea. They invented pom-poms to soften the bump. The little rubber bumps in the grooves of your tire tread are there to remind you it's time to change your tires. When the edges of your tread are even with the bumps, it's a sign to hit the tire shop. If the edge is above that of the bump, you're good to keep going for a while. The hole in a lollipop stick isn't a bonus whistle, like many people think. It's designed to save you from choking if it gets stuck in your throat. The tab on the bottom of your rearview mirror can save you from blinding caused by a car behind you. Just push it back when driving at night and pull it forward again during the day. The hole near the rim of your bathroom sink will save you from overflows. Thanks to it, all excess water is redirected into the siphon. It also helps your sink drain faster. The hole gives the air in the siphon somewhere to escape. The black dots on your car windshield are called frits. The black enamel baked during the manufacturing process helps preserve the sealant bonding the glass to the frame. The dots are gradually dissolving from a solid black band into a dot matrix to distribute temperature evenly to lessen optical distortion. The symbols on your cosmetics all have an important meaning. The little open jar icon is the period after opening symbol. It informs you how long the product will stay good after the package is unsealed. The time is usually shown in months, so it's a number and a letter M. The hourglass or egg timer is the best before end of symbol. They put it on products with a lifespan of less than 30 months. The green dot symbol used in Europe is a sign that the manufacturer pays for ecologically responsible recycling of their packaging waste. Before you use a plunger on a clogged kitchen sink or toilet, make sure you've got the right tool. If it has a standard bowl-shaped rubber head, it's perfect for flat surfaces, such as a sink or a tub. The one designed for toilet pipes has a narrower head. Pre-rinsing dishes before a dishwasher doesn't always help the cleaning process. Special sensors inside modern dishwashers can tell how dirty your plates are. They send a controlled jet of water to wash all that stuff off. All you really have to do is remove solid food from your plates and stack them properly. Your vegetable peeler can also help you shave off thin slices of onion. It will save you a bunch of time, stress, and tears. You can also use the peeler for slicing cheese. Little buttons on your jeans are called rivets. They were originally invented to prevent the seams from ripping. In the past, jeans were go-to clothing mostly for miners and other workers. That's why they had to be extra durable. The tradition of using rivets still lives even though jeans are often just a fashion item now. Wooden coat hangers aren't just made from any wood. The cedar wood used for their production is known to repel bugs and moths. Plus, it has a refreshing scent and is super durable. These hangers are perfect for heavy clothing that is more likely to get damaged by insects, such as coats and jackets or dresses, especially woolen ones. The tiny hole in the bottom of an airplane window allows airflow through to prevent too much pressure from building in the plane and busting the window as it rises in altitude. It also keeps the windows from fogging up with all the warm breath of the passengers. The extra little pocket on the side of your jeans, also known as the fifth pocket, was designed to keep the pocket watch in it. Gold miners in California in the mid-1800s needed that accessory to keep track of time, and jeans were their go-to clothing. The expensive watch stayed safe and sound in that pocket you can now use to keep anything from folded-up cash to a stick of lip balm. Most childproof pill bottles have strange lids that are threaded on each side. One of these sides has regular threads and won't lock into place if you screw it on top of the pill bottle. So, if you have trouble removing the cap and don't mind turning it into a normal one, just use the other side of it. the keyboard has inherited its weird non-alphabetical order of letters from the typewriter. Originally, the keys were arranged in alphabetical order, but the typists were so fast the key arms often got cross-wired and stuck. Keyboard manufacturers decided to randomize the order to slow down the typists and keep the machines safe. The deep ridges or threads on audio jacks are made of an insulating material to protect the wires during sound transition. The number of bands shows which end goes where, and if there are 3 bands, 2 of them go per left and right ear, and the third band is for grounding and should be plugged into the stereo or amplifier. A McFlurry spoon comes with a square-shaped hole through the handle. Its purpose is to serve as an attachment to the machine that whisks the ice cream and toppings together. The bar of the machine conveniently slips into the spoon and stirs it like a drill spins a screw. They then give you your dessert with it to do less cleaning. If you see a 4-digit code on a fruit or vegetable sticker, in most cases, it means the producers used pesticides. Organic products will have stickers with 5 digits, and the first one will be 9. Genetically modified products will also have a 5-digit code, but the first number will be 8. The right way to pour milk or juice is from the other side of the carton. This way, the drink won't splash all over the place, and it will be easier for you to control the process. The little legs on your keyboard let you tilt it and see which keys you're hitting. A flat keyboard is way less tiring for your wrists though. You can use an olive spoon to lift olives, cherries, pickled garlic, and other products from liquid-filled jars, cans, or bowls. The hole in the middle is for draining the liquid that gathers in the spoon fast and easily. The grooves on restaurant toothpicks aren't designed to make them look fancier, but to avoid putting them on the table when your plate has been taken. They're made weaker to let you snap them and place the toothpick between the notches, pointy end up.
Next time you follow a recipe where you need to separate egg yolks from whites, try this. Peel a clove of garlic and rub your fingers with it. Carefully break an egg into a bowl. With your garlicky fingers, pick up the yolk. And voila, you can now marvel at how perfectly it separates from the egg white. If it's egg peeling time, there are 2 easy ways to do it. When cooking eggs, add a teaspoon of baking soda to the boiling water. This will make peeling eggs much easier. You can also place them under cold running water as soon as they're ready. The eggshells will come off much easier, and you won't burn your hands while peeling the eggs. The sides of roads have sleeper lines for a very important reason. Their main function is to alert those drivers who doze off behind the wheel. When a car starts steering off the road, the tires go over the lines, and the sound wakes the driver up. Those price tags and labels that come glued to your Tupperware are easier to remove than you might think. No need to waste hot water and soap trying to remove them. Take a hairdryer instead. Blow some hot air directly onto the tag for a minute or so. There you go, the label comes off at once. White household appliances might get yellow with time. To make them white again, use this simple trick. Apply bleaching cream to the surface of an item. Wrap it in plastic and let it stay this way overnight. The next morning, check it out. It'll be as white as when you first bought it. When you buy a pack of cans, opening it might turn into a problem. You probably tear a hole in the plastic and try to squeeze a can out of there. But the bottom of cans was actually designed to make this part much easier. Grab a can and rub it over the top of another can from the pack. A circle the exact same size of the can will be cut out. This way, you can easily remove the new can from the pack without destroying the entire thing. Now to the art of lime squeezing. When you pick limes at the grocery store, you never know how juicy they are, and often, when you bring them home and squeeze them, almost no juice comes out. Try heating these citruses in a microwave for 30 seconds before cutting them open. You'll see that the juice will come out much easier. But be careful, they're going to be hot, and you don't want to burn your hands. If you're hanging out with your friends and feel like listening to some music but don't have a loudspeaker, there's no need to worry. Place your phone in a cup or bowl. The sound will get louder instantly. If you don't have a hanger at hand but still need to hang your shirt, this trick is for you. Most dress shirts have a tiny loop on the back between the shoulders, and you can use it to hang your shirt. How about the worst case scenario? your phone is running out of battery and you're running late. Try this simple trick. Switch on airplane mode. Your phone will charge to 100% in no time. You can run the sticky part of a Post-it note along your laptop's keyboard. This will help remove tiny bits of food and dust that get stuck in between the keys. Avoid putting really hot food into plastic containers. Hot plastic releases all kinds of toxic chemicals, and we don't want our food to absorb that nasty stuff, right? What can be better than a bubble bath in the evening? But the bubbles are not only pretty and smell nice, they also keep the water temperature hot for longer. This way, you can enjoy a long hot bath without getting cold too quickly. You got home craving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but your peanut butter now has 2 layers, and the oil is at the top. To avoid getting disappointed, next time, store a peanut butter jar turned upside down. Your screwdriver and wrench can work together to remove that stubborn screw. Grab your screwdriver's handle with the wrench and use it to apply more force. This method will also help you reach more difficult areas. There is a reason why your coffee stirrer looks like a straw. It has holes in it because it reduces the amount of plastic manufacturers have to use. Plus, they prevent the stirrer from floating. The holes in the stirrer get filled with coffee, which in turn makes it heavier. And speaking of coffee, you should never buy the product that is more than 18 months old. Make sure to look at the best before date when buying it. If you've ever had trouble with those classic salt and pepper shakers, the ones you may see in diners, I've got a trick for you. Instead of shaking your entire arm to try and get some salt out of the container, try rubbing the bottom of one container with the bottom of the other. Grab the salt and hold it so that the bottom of the container faces downward. Now, while holding the pepper shaker upright, rub the 2 bottom parts together, creating circular friction between them. After this, the salt will spill effortlessly. After a long day of hiking, your shoes might smell funny. Well, I've got good news for you. Put dry tea bags inside your shoes and keep them in a dry place for a while. The tea bags will absorb bad smells and make your shoes dry. If you've torn your flip-flop while taking a walk, there's a way to save the day, but only if you have a bread clip with you. First, push the strap back into its hole. Then attach the bread clip to the bottom of the flip-flop strap. Here you go! Your body needs a daily amount of vitamin C to boost your immune system, but oranges are a tricky fruit to peel. To avoid getting sprayed all over your face, start by cutting off both the top and the bottom parts of the orange. Then, cut the peel vertically. Hook your fingers under the opposite sides of the cut and open your orange. If it's difficult for you to figure out how much detergent you need to wash your clothes, here's a tip for you. Usually, detergent caps have markings that indicate the exact amount of liquid you should use per wash. It helps your detergent last longer. Permanent markers are not as permanent as you might believe they are. I can prove it. Let's say you used a permanent marker, thinking it was a regular one, to draw something on a whiteboard. Good news for you, you don't need to throw the board away yet. There's a way to save it. Get a regular marker and use it to draw over the lines left by the permanent one. Let it sit for a while so that both markers blend in together. The thing is, the ink of the regular marker contains a solvent that dissolves the pigment the permanent marker contains. Now take a paper towel and rub the whiteboard clean. The marker will come off easily. If you need to peel peaches, use the technique called blanching. First, heat up some water. Wait until it starts boiling. Soak the peaches in the water for about 20 seconds. Then put the fruit into a bowl with cold water and leave them for about 5 minutes. There you have it. The peel will come off nicely and easily. That plastic lid covering your drink can be used as a coaster. Take the lid off and put it on the table. The bottom of your cup will fit perfectly into the lid's inner ring. No more stained tables from now on. Bristles on escalators are there for safety reasons. They remain stationary while the escalator is moving, preventing people from standing too close to the sides. This helps to avoid accidents like getting your shoelaces stuck. If you pay close attention to elevator doors, you'll notice they have a small hole in them. This is a keyhole, and only authorized personnel have the key to it. They use it in emergency situations or during a regular maintenance routine.
Now, doctors recommend risking your life at least twice a day. I mean, brushing your teeth at least twice a day. But you see, the seemingly harmless toothpaste that peacefully chills on every American counter poses a life-threatening danger because of one not-so-harmless ingredient, sodium fluoride. Now, don't get me wrong, not every toothpaste out there contains it, but most of them still do. But don't rush to the bathroom to trash your tube. If you swallow a tiny pea-sized glob, it isn't fatal. I'm talking about larger quantities. A toothpaste tube has only 0.15% fluoride. To send you running to the hills, you must consume around 8 tubes one by one, so technically, toothpaste is totally safe. Let's go and look for more dangers at your place, shall we? Personally, I don't have this one, but if you happen to have a CFL light bulb, you gotta be extremely cautious with it. The thing is, many of those bulbs are made with mercury. If such a bulb breaks, you gotta start by turning off your ventilation system. Otherwise, the contamination will only get worse. Make sure everyone has left the room, then open a window to allow for fresh air circulation. Finally, clean the area where the bulb shattered. Be careful to address both wet and dry surfaces and contact specialists. Mercury vapors are definitely the biggest concern when it comes to this element. Take, for instance, a case of 2008, where a 55-year-old guy in Oklahoma tried to extract gold from old electronics using liquid mercury. Unfortunately, he inhaled too much vapor and sadly passed away just 10 days later. The contamination was so severe that they had to completely gut his house. Now, you definitely don't want your favorite clothes to get ruined by moths, so you might grab some mothballs to exterminate them. But watch out, those mothballs can exterminate you too. They usually contain chemicals like naphthalene or a paradichlorobenzene. When these get into the air, they turn into gas. That strong smell you associate with mothballs kicks in. Those fumes can actually irritate your eyes and lungs, and may even cause headaches, dizziness, and nausea. Plus, there are concerns about these chemicals being the cause of major conditions that even modern medicine can cure. Naphthalene is especially risky because it can break down your red blood cells, leading to a condition called hemolytic anemia. So try to swap those balls for good old lavender. Moths aren't big fans of it. Now, it's super important to keep an eye on the plants you bring into your home because some can be surprisingly harmful. Take Dieffenbachia, commonly known as dumb cane, for example. Rumor has it that its sap can cause your tongue to swell up so much that it can block your airway. But can it really? Yes and no. It's true that this plant contains poisonous, tiny needle-like crystals called rapides, but they require someone to actually chew on a leaf first before any fuss happens. Otherwise, you might just feel a brief burning sensation or observe some skin redness. In rare cases, you might see some swelling in the area that touched the plant. Generally, just a little nibble leads to mild discomfort, so please don't snack on your potted plants. This warning is more for the safety of your pets, especially cats. Now, if Dieffenbachia stays in contact with the mouth for too long, it can cause some serious pain that might linger for days or even weeks. In those cases, a trip to the hospital might be necessary, especially if the throat gets affected, as that could impact breathing. But don't believe the hype that Dieffenbachia is a lethal poison. That's just an urban legend. The bottom line? One must be really dumb to get poisoned by a dumb cane. Now, using a power washer can be more dangerous than you might think. The intense pressure can lead to serious injuries, and the high-speed spray can kick up debris that might cause even more harm. If you do get injured, infections can set in quickly, and without timely medical care, things can get really serious. Think severe complications, potential limb loss, or even worse. But honestly, it's not that scary. Just don't overdo it with pressure. Here's a friendly tip. Don't skip out on your weekly house cleaning, especially when it comes to the bathroom. The longer you put off cleaning it, the more risky it becomes. Bathrooms are notorious hotspots for bacteria, which makes regular cleaning essential. You definitely don't want those unwelcome guests like norovirus, E. coli, salmonella, or even Staphylococcus aureus hanging around. along with those molds and mildews. Just put things into perspective. An average toilet seat can host over 200,000 colony-forming bacteria. And here's another thing to keep in mind. If you're not careful while cleaning, you can accidentally create a dangerous situation. Mixing bleach and ammonia can release a toxic gas called chloramine. Those fumes can lead to some pretty nasty symptoms, from shortness of breath to fluid in your lungs. Guess what? If it happens, you will probably kick the bucket. And I'm not talking about the one you use for cleaning the floors in the bathroom. On a sweltering summer day, having air conditioning is definitely a blessing. But don't let that trick you into thinking there aren't risks involved. If your AC is on the older side, it can lead to various issues. For example, the ductwork and filters can trap harmful mold, bacteria, and allergens. If those aren't addressed, folks in your home might end up dealing with coughing, wheezing, or a stuffy nose. Plus, an aging AC unit can pose a fire risk. Older components tend to generate more heat as they try to keep up, and if they're not replaced, you could end up with a potential fire hazard. Faulty wiring is another concern, as many wires are tucked away in hard-to-reach spots, making them tough to inspect. So, if you have an older AC, it's a smart move to have it cleaned properly and ensure that its parts and wiring are up to date to avoid any fire risks. Snuggling under a cozy electric blanket when the weather turns chilly sounds like a dream. But if electric blankets get too hot, they might lead to burns. This risk is particularly significant with older models that don't have an automatic shutoff feature. So the best way to use such a blanket is to warm up your bed and then turn it off before you crawl in. There's also the concern of heat stroke, linked to the use of an electric blanket. Once, 2 people were discovered unresponsive in their beds beneath electric blankets. The first person's body temperature reached an alarming 106.2 degrees Fahrenheit, while the second person's temperature was 105.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So while these blankets offer comfort, it's crucial to use them wisely. Just a quick heads up about windshield washer fluid. It contains methanol, which can really pack a punch. If ingested, it can cause everything from dizziness and headaches to severe poisoning. Make sure to store it safely and keep it in the original container. Never transfer it to unmarked bottles. It can easily be confused with water and other harmless liquids, and that's a big no-no. Methanol is super toxic. For a grown-up, 2 to 8 ounces can do the trick. You know what I mean. The windshield washer fluid you dump into your car usually has about 30 to 50% methanol in it. But the concentrated versions? They can pack a serious punch with 90 to 100% methanol. Just remember, these products need to be diluted with water before you use them. The last everyday thing on our list does seem to be a great buddy of ours, especially if located in the bathroom. But although air fresheners can give your home a pleasant scent, many of them release volatile organic compounds that can build up over time and may pose serious health risks, including neurological issues and incurable conditions. I suggest, if you were to ask me, you play it safe and think about opting for natural alternatives or enhancing your home's ventilation instead. Got that? Good.
Trains used to make people mad. During the Victorian era, there was this rumor that the swaying motion of train carriages made passengers, especially men, go a bit crazy, leading to some strange and dangerous behavior. The so-called railway madness was supposedly triggered by the noise of the train. To make things worse, carriages were locked for privacy reasons back then, so people found themselves stuck in tiny spaces with lunatics who could snap at any moment.
If you see someone putting ketchup on some car, it doesn't mean you're witnessing them preparing a prank. It means they're just taking care of their car. Yup, it goes great with hamburgers and hot dogs, but it goes even better with cars, since it has ingredients that are good at removing rust. Rust occurs when the metal gets exposed to moisture, oxygen, and heat, and due to weather conditions, it's hard to avoid it. When you leave rust for a longer time and don't deal with it, it will continue to degrade the metal. So, you need to get rid of it before your car becomes physically useless. That's when ketchup comes in. Its key ingredient is tomatoes, and they have many nutrients similar to those you can find in oranges and some other citrus fruits. For instance, citric acid can help you remove rust from metal surfaces since it eats through rust. We're not talking about the cars only. You can use it on metallic kitchenwares, furniture parts, jewelry, and rust spots on generally any metallic item. You can combine it with washing soda. It's not quite effective against rust, but when you combine it with ketchup, it'll do the work. Mix these two and apply them to the rusted area. Leave it like that for about half an hour and wash it with a wet cloth or sponge. You can combine ketchup with salt instead, or just apply a lot of it on the rusty area without using any additional ingredients. Ketchup removes tarnish from brass copper too. Put it on brass hardware on doors and cabinets, or some accessories such as bowls and candlesticks for 10 minutes to make it all shine. And also, you don't put it on meat just because of taste. Ketchup breaks down its fibers, which means it makes it more tender. Locking handles as we know them were only invented relatively recently, in 1878. Before that, people had to get pretty inventive to secure their homes. Most folks used a latch string. They'd make a small hole in the door, thread a leather thong or string through it, and then loop it around a wooden bar. Even after doorknobs were invented, only the wealthy could afford a proper lock and key. Vacuum cleaners had a rough start too. The first one was invented in 1901, but it was so huge that it wouldn't fit inside houses. Instead, vacuuming was offered as a mobile service. The machines were parked outside, and long hoses were fed through the windows. And to get to the client's house, these large cleaning machines were actually pulled by horses. Back in the day, animals even used to pull strollers. Yep, with kids inside. The stroller was first developed in 1733 for the daughters and sons of a British nobleman who might have been a bit too lazy to walk with them every day. So, the first model was basically a shell-shaped basket on wheels that could be pulled by a goat or a small pony. This small chariot was cute, but probably not the safest way to get around. Refrigerators also used to be a bit scary. From the late 1800s until 1929, they used toxic gases like ammonia, methyl chloride, and sulfur dioxide to cool things down. People were so concerned about gas leaks that they began leaving their refrigerators in the backyard instead of keeping them in the kitchen. This danger even inspired Albert Einstein to create a new model. In 1926, Einstein and his former student Leo Szilard invented a refrigerator with no moving parts, using safer, environmentally friendly gases to reduce the risk of toxic leaks. But it had one problem. Einstein's refrigerator was less efficient than existing appliances, so it wasn't commercially appealing. If you ever find yourself casually wandering in the forests of Estonia, don't freak out if you see some giant megaphones. These wooden acoustic giants were set 3 hours away from the country's capital by interior architecture students. That's way cooler than the hamster roller coaster I once built for a science fair, I have to admit. More than half of Estonia is covered by woods, and they're pretty proud of this natural wealth. So it's not the first art project of this kind, and there was a winding, elevated pathway and a faceted woodland cabin. The idea of the megaphones is to crank up the natural sounds of a forest and also to serve as a rest spot for hikers. These wooden beauties are large enough to host several people. And hey, if you walk this far into the woodland, you'll be thankful for this. The students were given a task to invent some concepts of a forest library. They built the megaphones off-site and brought them to their permanent spots. They're set in such a way that sounds from 3 directions meet in the center and create a cool, natural surround sound effect. Thankfully, kitchen supplies, including our beloved grills, have come a long way. Back in the 1950s, a metalworker named George Stephen had a brilliant idea while trying to create the perfect steak. Frustrated with flare-ups and uneven cooking, he decided to cut an old ocean buoy in half. This allowed him to control the airflow better. And that's how the Weber Kettle Grill was born, changing backyard barbecues forever.
Have you ever used a public bathroom in the summer in your shorts and sandals and got splashed? It happens to the best of us, so no worries. If only there was some solution to this problem. Perhaps a urinal with a small hole so no liquid goes where it shouldn't. Looks pretty yucky and painful to me. An assistant professor at the University of Waterloo, Zhao Pen, and his colleagues came up with a way better solution for this sensitive issue. Their designs were inspired by physics and dogs. When a stream of liquid moves on a solid surface at a shallow angle, the splash is reduced, and the smaller the angle, the fewer splashes you'll see. You can even minimize them to a zero. And when dogs do their business, they lift their hind legs and do it on the vertical surface of a tree or a wall. I don't know if they actually care about it, but this does reduce the splash. Good job, Pluto. Talking about that, here's a fun challenge for your next family gathering. Ask everyone to fold a piece of paper in half, then in half again, and keep going for a total of 7 folds. Spoiler alert, they probably won't succeed. That's because each fold makes the paper thicker and thicker. In fact, if you had a huge sheet of paper and folded it in half 50 times, it would end up being about 62 million miles thick, which is about 2/3 of the way from Earth to the Sun. So yeah, it's impossible. The current record is held by a high school student named Brittany Gallivan, who managed to fold a single piece of paper in half 12 times, and it was a tissue paper. The USB symbol, looking like a trident, has always sparked multiple speculations about its origin. One popular idea is that it represents Neptune's trident and symbolizes power and adaptability. But there's also a little bit less exciting theory. A man who claimed to have designed the symbol in the 1980s stated that it was supposed to represent connectivity. The large circle symbolizes a computer, while the attached shapes, the circle, the triangle, and square, stand for different outputs. Look closely at a tram's overhead lines, and you'll see that its contact wires zigzag back and forth instead of going in a straight line. That's because all trams have pantographs attached to their roofs. The upper part of the pantograph is gradually worn down by the overhead wire and eventually needs to be replaced. To wear it down evenly, the wire is not installed strictly along the tram's path, but in zigzag patterns. As the tram moves, the pantograph slides along the wire, and it wears down evenly. Those cone-shaped water cooler cups? Their shape is intentionally designed to prevent users from setting the cups down. This allows employees to minimize the risk of spilling water on their desks around various electronic devices. Plus, less material is used to produce cone-shaped cups, which makes the process less wasteful and more cost-effective. It also kinda supports sustainability by encouraging people to drink their water quickly and dispose of their cups immediately after. You're probably wearing a YKK product right now. I mean, go check the zipper on your jeans. Yep, that's it. YKK stands for Yoshida Kogyo Kabushiki Kaisha, a Japanese company that makes roughly half of all the zippers in the world, producing over 7 billion zippers each year. Originally called hookless fasteners, they became known as zippers after a pair of rubber boots that could be fastened with a single zip became popular in 1923. The name stuck because of the high-pitched zip sound they make when used. Despite a popular myth, household batteries don't actually contain liquid, and if you accidentally cut them open, no toxic liquid will spill. Most of them are dry cell batteries, which are made of electrochemical cells. Those convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Larger batteries often house numerous small cells within them too. Even Tesla vehicle batteries consist of multiple small cells. When combined, they easily provide the necessary voltage. Did you know that nail polish used to be a status symbol? In ancient Egypt, queens like Nefertiti and Cleopatra were famous for their red nails, while lower-ranking citizens were only allowed to wear pale shades. You'll probably agree that there's no better snack than a pack of chips. Some are flat, others have ridges. Is it just aesthetics? Not really. The main purpose of those lines on some kinds of chips is to help with the distribution of spices and seasonings. In other words, all those substances that make your chips taste like cheese are mostly stored inside the lines. Plus, the lines make chips crunchier.
This item here was also popular in ancient Egypt. What looks like a weird bench was actually a weird type of pillow. Back then, headrests were made from materials like wood, ceramic, and stone. Unlike our comfy pillows today, those ancient ones were used to protect people's hairstyles. That way, their hairdos stayed neat, even though they had a very uncomfortable night. If you've left a pot on the stove and your food burned, once again, take ketchup. Its acids will ease all the scrubbing and help you with grease. Just leave it over the night and you'll be able to wash the pot more easily. Or keep those small packages of ketchup we all end up having from fast food orders in the freezer. The ketchup won't be as hard as an ice cube as it freezes. So it will be good for soothing insect bites or similar things. For 8 centuries, forks were considered cursed and nearly forbidden in the West. The first models were used by the elite in the Middle East and the Byzantine Empire, and they made their way to the West in 1004, thanks to a noblewoman named Maria Agrippina. People were pretty shocked by it, to say the least. So when she passed away just 2 years later, everyone blamed the fork, thinking it was some kind of divine punishment. By the way, its name comes from the Latin word furca, which means pitchfork. Next on our list is Nike's iconic moon shoe, but I'm talking about the unique pattern of its sole. Back in the 1970s, Nike co-founder Bill Bowerman was making waffles for breakfast with his wife when he had a sudden idea to pour a plastic material called polyurethane into the waffle iron. The machine was ruined, of course, but I guess it was worth it since that's how the first Nike waffle trainer was born. I mean, its sole. That clear fluid in gel pens is called the ink follower or stopper fluid. The gel in such pens contains pigment particles dissolved in a polymer solution. The main task of the stopper fluid is to be a barrier to prevent the gel from evaporating or leaking out. Without this transparent fluid, your gel pen wouldn't function. The fluid always stays in one position and doesn't get dissolved with the gel. Neither does it move backwards or flow out of the pen. Let's move on to another favorite snack, popcorn. These days, cinema and popcorn go hand in hand, but it wasn't always this way. In the 1920s and 1930s, movie theater owners were hesitant to allow snacks in their theaters. They were worried about the mess and the crunching noises interfering with movies. Plus, popcorn used to cost only 5 to 10 cents, so they didn't see any financial benefit. But savvy street vendors saw a big chance. So, they got their own popcorn machines and started selling them outside theaters. That's why popcorn probably became the original clandestine movie snack, and theater staff would even have to check if people were hiding bags of it in their coats. Have you ever helped your friends move into a new apartment in a building without an elevator? Then you're gonna love this one. Houses in Amsterdam have hooks on top. This is a medieval invention for pulling stuff up the houses. The simple tech consisting of a wheel and a rope still functions now, centuries later. Why not just use the stairs? Well, if you get inside one of those narrow Amsterdam buildings, you'll see there's hardly enough room to comfortably ascend, and you can forget about even trying to pull a table on top. Back in the medieval ages, pretty much like now, only rich people could afford housing around the canals in the best parts of the city. Those people were mostly traders and used the canals for their business. They stored goods in the same houses they lived in, and with regular floods, they had to find a way to keep the goods dry. And that's why they needed to invent something to lift furniture, goods, boxes, instruments, and food on the upper floors, and pull it in through fully open, wide windows. The lifting tech is one of the reasons the houses in Amsterdam are leaning forward. This position helped keep both the lifted stuff and the walls and windows safe during transportation. They didn't have to touch each other. The gables also assisted in the process and had to be made firm to withstand all the heavy weight. And in case you're wondering what gables are, they're sections of wall between the edges of a dual-pitched roof, typical for Amsterdam. Sticking with old-school fun, it's time to talk about cards. So, have you ever wondered how many times you need to riffle a deck to shuffle it completely? The answer is 7 times, according to math.
Even cooler, if you shuffle a deck right, you're probably creating a unique order that's never existed before and never will again. And if you have a deck at hand, check out the Four Kings. You'll notice that the King of Hearts is the only one without a mustache. He's not special or anything. I mean, he also used to have a mustache, but it was lost in the reproduction of the original design.
Your home has more regular things that can do magic tricks. Like if you have a house or a big terrace and want to make a nice flower wall. Try old mattress springs. Just hang them on the wall and let your imagination run wild with flowers. An old flower sifter can still come in handy, for example, as a planter. Even if you don't have one, you might find it at a garage sale or a thrift store. Wallpaper is making its big comeback when it comes to home design. Maybe you can try something different and use some old books with torn pages. You just need to learn the basics of hanging wallpaper, and voila! You get a new cool place for your old books. There's a solution for the remains of an old book. Don't worry. You can have blocks where you'll keep your kitchen knives. It's pretty original, don't you think?
Solitaire was probably everyone's go-to game to pass the time back in the 1990s, but its original purpose was far from it. When developers created this game, their idea was to teach people how to use a computer without them even realizing it. For example, dragging and dropping cards into one place helped people learn how to move files into folders. The same goes for Minesweeper, which was designed to help people get used to using a mouse and clicking.
Cleaning blinds can be frustrating, but the next time you do it, try doing it with a sock over your hand. Hands are kind of perfectly shaped for getting all those nooks and crannies on the blinds, and the sock will do the rest. Here's something you wouldn't expect. Ice cubes can help you remove gum from carpet, clothing, and hair. Just put your clothes in the sink and add ice cubes. Leave it like that for a while. Ice will freeze the gum, so you can chip it away more easily. If the gum got stuck on the carpet, leave ice cubes right in the critical spot and remove the gum with a butter knife. It's a little bit harder to remove it from hair though, but still possible. Just wrap the ice and parts of your hair with the gum in a washcloth until the gum gets frozen. When you get there, you should be able to break apart the gum and free your hair using your fingers. Or next time you have to deal with a splinter, just take one ice cube to numb that area before you even start doing anything.
You might have noticed that movie theater seats are almost always red. This choice isn't random. It has strategic importance, which is rooted in visual science. The thing is, red light has a longer wavelength. It means that it's the first color to disappear in low light. It allows the audience to concentrate better on the screen once the movie begins. Such a design choice enhances the viewing experience by minimizing distractions. Speed bumps are crucial for pedestrian safety, but at the same time, they can seriously increase car emissions due to the non-stop acceleration and deceleration they cause. To address this issue, some cities like London are testing fake speed bumps. Those are optical illusions painted on the road. They look raised from a driver's perspective, but in reality, they're flat. Authorities hope that this approach will slow down drivers without having a negative impact on the environment. Soda bottles are always filled in such a way that there's some space between the liquid and the cap. That's because soda contains carbon dioxide. It's a gas that can expand once the bottle's heated. If there's no gap in the bottle, it can break because of the pressure building inside. Also, when you open your drink, the gases go out in the form of bubbles, making the drink overflow. The gap helps with this problem too. If you're more into Angry Birds, Candy Crush, and other mobile games, that's totally normal. After all, more people have access to cell phones than to toilets these days. But not many of us stop to think about how disgusting our phones can be. The natural bacteria from our skin and the oils from our hands get transferred to our phones with every touch, swipe, and tap. This makes phones about 10 times dirtier than toilet seats. Yikes!
Now, apart from being a great food additive and warding off vampires, garlic has cleansing properties that can make things more tolerable around the bathroom. And we can all use that. Freshly crushed garlic cloves contain a variety of antimicrobial properties. Allicin reduces the buildup of bacteria and fungi. The natural cleansing properties of garlic are not only great for the environment, but they can also help you avoid the need to constantly clean the toilet. Simply crush up a piece of garlic and put it into your toilet bowl before you go to bed. The next morning, flush the toilet. The allicin has done the grueling task of cleaning the toilet for you. Doing this 2 times a week will ensure a very clean toilet bowl. Hair grease and grime build up over time and eventually clog the drains. Removing the blockage is easy with salt and vinegar. Using a small bowl, add 1 cup of vinegar and 1 cup of salt and mix thoroughly until it's evenly combined. Pour the mixture into the drain and wait for 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the severity of the clog. This method will save on money, further showing that salt and vinegar aren't just good on chips, but they are. Now, to further ensure the drain is clear of not only the blockage, but also the smell, add 3½ ounces of baking soda. Boil 6 ounces of water and mix in 1 cup of vinegar. Pour the baking soda into the drain, followed by the boiling water and vinegar mix. It will begin sizzling once the reaction starts, so just sit back and let it do its thing. An hour later, the blockage, along with the smell, will be gone. Scorched pans tend to use a lot of elbow grease, but they can be cleaned a lot easier with the right ingredients. Fill your pot or pan with water and add in about 1 cup of vinegar. Bring the liquid to a boil, then remove the pan from the heat before it completely dries up, ensuring there is a small amount of liquid remaining. Sprinkle baking soda on the base, covering the burnt parts. A couple of teaspoons should be enough to form a slurry. Watch and wait as the soda fizzes. Continue to move the pan around to ensure you cover the scorched areas. Once the fizzing stops, you're free to scrub away. Vinegar by itself can be used for many purposes. A couple of teaspoons mixed with water in a spray bottle will easily remove salt stains from shoes. Pour white vinegar into a container and place rusty tools inside. Overnight, the vinegar will eat away at the rust. After 24 hours, as you wipe it, you will be able to remove the corrosion easily. Baking soda also removes foul odors on furniture and carpet, as it gradually absorbs all the acidic odors within a covered area. Baking soda is a pH neutralizer, which means it absorbs smells that are acidic in nature. This includes most of the nasty smells we find throughout our living areas. When applying, ensure you are very generous while spreading. Leave it on the required area for at least an hour, and for best results, leave it on overnight. Then just suck it up with a vacuum cleaner. Charcoal contains the same odor-removing elements, only better, and deals with a greater variety of particles. However, you don't want to exchange smells for patches of black stains from the charcoal, but putting them into air freshener sachets and hiding them underneath the cushions will have the desired effect without the mess. There are various forms of cleaning you can do with vinegar. The reason why it's so effective is the acetic acid content, which is more powerful than other natural ingredients like coffee and orange juice. There is a process involved for vinegar to develop into the crime-fighting liquid that it is. The acetic acid that makes up the effective properties, it can be used on many surfaces without damaging them. Not only is it beneficial for cleaning and removing stains, but also for polishing copper, brass, bronze, and silver. Given its benefits for almost anything, it'll give your dishwasher an extra boost with a natural cleanse. Just fill up half a bowl of white vinegar and place it on the top rack before you start the machine. Then witness the immaculate results. Within the small space of a microwave, you can combine 2 cups of water with 1/4 cup of lemon juice in an open dish. Run the microwave on high for 8 minutes. The steam from the solution will get absorbed into the crusty layers within the microwave, and once complete, it'll be easier to clean, leaving a fresh, lemony smell. Using the oil of cloves and cinnamon, you can soak cotton balls in them and place them in small bags inside your closet. Moths and other insects can't stand these ingredients, which will ensure that your clothes remain untouched. Using similar ingredients, you can create your own humidifier with a stove in the winter. Simply fill a can 2/3 of the way with water, adding cinnamon sticks, cloves, and orange peel, and place it on the stove. While it adds moisture to the air, it'll also provide a soothing scent. Scratches, nicks, and marks made on wooden furniture can be restained with a pecan by simply rubbing it on the scratched or damaged area. Has your stainless steel cutlery and other flatware lost its shine? Put them in a small pan filled with carbonated water. Let them sit until the bubbles have completely gone flat. The steel will shine as good as new once removed and wiped down. Add witch hazel to the water fill in your iron, and as you're ironing your clothes, instead of the stale smell normally produced, you'll have a sweeter, fresher scent instead. Within the difficult corners of furniture where a vacuum cleaner's suction can't quite reach, use a paintbrush to easily reach the buildup that has escaped the suction for so long. Chewing gum stuck on your finger? Or maybe after popping it is now stuck in your hair? Rub vegetable oil on it, then leave it for a few minutes until you're able to remove it easily. Ammonia is 100% safe for the environment, though it can be harmful to the skin. But its cleaning uses are extensive. Pour a cup of household ammonia into a small bowl in the oven, making sure the oven is off, and leave it overnight. The next morning, wipe it down with a damp wipe. You'll appreciate the difference as you easily clean the grime from the hardest places to wash. Ammonia's natural benefits should mean it's always used instead of bleach. In the bathroom, not only does it make the tiles sparkle like brand new, but it will easily remove mildew. 1/4 cup of ammonia per gallon will get the job done. Running half a lemon down the side of a cheese grater will effectively remove sticky food particles. Just remember to wash with water afterward. This ensures a more effective cleanse and keeps your fingers safe from being cut. Make sure to save the juice from the lemon, as it's a natural substitute for bleach. Using just 1/2 cup of juice per gallon, leave clothes to soak for at least an hour and then dry them out in the sun. The same volume can be used in a washing machine to brighten colors and bleach your whites. It's also possible to sanitize your earrings with 1 tablespoon of lemon juice in 1.5 cups of water. Just be sure to avoid putting your gold and pearls, as they're sensitive to the acids found in lemons. Apply olive oil and a bit of salt when washing your cast iron pans after cooking. This will ensure you remove all the debris and will reduce the effects on the surface of the pan, extending its usage. Without using salt, the same method can be used to remove stains on stainless steel benches and ovens. Gently cleaning with a small amount of olive oil in a circular motion will not only remove charred fragments, but will also restore their shine. Due to the antimicrobial properties that olive oil contains, it's an incredibly safe and natural alternative to chemicals. Further varieties of oils, like tea tree oil, have even more benefits with their antiviral and antifungal properties. By using distilled oil in a spray bottle with a few drops of olive oil, you can make your own ready-to-use all-purpose cleaner. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.